Every night, your mind slips into a world you barely remember. Strange places, familiar faces, symbols that vanish by morning. But what if those dreams weren't just nonsense? What if they were messages, coded signals from the deepest part of you? In this video, we'll uncover how your dreams reveal hidden emotions, unspoken fears, and the secrets your waking mind can't face. Stay with me until the end, and you might just learn what your subconscious has been trying to tell you all along. Why we're obsessed with dreams but remember so few. There's something hauntingly beautiful about the world of dreams. A place where logic dissolves, time bends, and reality becomes soft clay reshaped by memories, fears, and fragments of our waking lives. We close our eyes, fall into the darkness, and drift into a realm that feels both deeply personal and mysteriously universal. Every night, we slip into this hidden theater of the mind, where we can fly without wings, revisit people we've lost, or wake up breathless from a chase that never happened. And yet, for all their vivid power, most dreams evaporate within minutes. Why is it that something so rich and captivating fades so quickly? The answer, strangely, begins with biology. As we move through the stages of sleep, our brain cycles between deep rest and moments of extraordinary activity. During REM sleep, rapid eye movement, our brains light up almost as much as they do when we're awake. This is when most dreams occur. But here's the paradox. Even though the brain is so active, it actually suppresses the function of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic, memory, and decision-making. It's like writing poetry in a notebook that erases itself as you go. Our brain is crafting elaborate experiences while simultaneously impairing the very systems that help us store and recall them. But there's more to this forgetting than just neural mechanics. Part of why dreams slip away is evolutionary. In waking life, we're bombarded with sensory data, sights, sounds, faces, voices. Our brains prioritize what's useful for survival. A tiger in the bushes, a baby crying, a road full of traffic. Dreams, being simulations without physical consequences, don't usually make the cut. They're tagged as non-essential data, quickly discarded to make room for the waking world. But even if we don't remember them, they shape us. They stir emotions, surface long-buried fears, and resolve puzzles in ways we don't consciously grasp. That doesn't mean everyone forgets their dreams equally. Some people wake up with full, colorful narratives intact. They recall the smell of rain on stone, the weight of keys in a dream pocket, or the precise look of a person they've never met. Others recall nothing, a black void between pillow and sunrise. Research shows that people who wake up more frequently during the night tend to remember more dreams. The transition between sleep and wakefulness acts like a bridge, preserving the memory before it vanishes. Even a moment of stillness, lying quietly before moving, can make the difference between holding onto a dream or losing it forever. Yet our fascination with dreams remains constant. We talk about them, interpret them, and even build entire philosophies and religions around them. Some see dreams as messages from the divine, others as doors to the unconscious. Freud believed they were disguised wish fulfillment, while Jung saw them as symbols from the collective unconscious. In both views, dreams weren't random. They were meaningful, encoded with truths that bypassed the filter of the waking mind. This idea still resonates. When we wake up shaken from a nightmare or warmed by a joyful dream, we instinctively ask, what did that mean? It's an ancient instinct, one that turns our nightly hallucinations into sacred puzzles. Part of what makes dreams so compelling is their surreal coherence. In dreams, contradictions don't jar us. We accept that a friend can have a stranger's face. We walk through doors that lead to nowhere and think nothing of it. It's only after waking that the absurdity sets in. This fluidity is one of the reasons dreams feel so profound. They allow impossible experiences to feel real. That moment when you feel the wind on your skin as you leap off a cliff, the lump in your throat when a lost loved one appears. These are genuine emotional responses to illusions. That's why forgetting them feels like a theft. A private film reel burned before we could replay it. And yet, forgetting dreams may serve a hidden purpose. Some neuroscientists argue that forgetting dreams is a form of emotional housekeeping. Dreams allow us to process experiences, rehearse fears, and sift through unresolved conflicts in a safe environment. Once that work is done, retaining the dream itself may not be necessary. It's like a conversation with your subconscious that ends in silence, its impact felt but not remembered. In this way, the forgetting isn't a flaw, it's a design. What matters isn't the memory of the dream, but the transformation it sparks beneath the surface. Still, the pursuit to remember dreams continues. Entire industries have blossomed around dream journals, lucid dreaming guides, and dream interpretation books. People keep notebooks by their bed, hoping to catch the fading fragments before they're gone. There's a quiet romance to the idea that our dreams matter, that they hold secrets we haven't yet unlocked. Whether it's decoding a recurring symbol or recognizing a message buried in the absurd, we search for meaning, hoping that within the chaos lies clarity. And sometimes that search itself becomes part of the dream. Lucid dreaming adds another layer to this obsession. The idea that one can become aware within a dream and even control it is both thrilling and strange. It promises the ability to fly, to visit impossible landscapes, to have conversations with manifestations of your own mind. But what truly draws people in is the idea that dreams don't have to be forgotten, that you can step inside, remember the rules, and leave with souvenirs. Studies show that lucid dreamers tend to remember more of their dreams, not just because they're more aware, but because the experience becomes more anchored, like a conscious memory rather than a fleeting vision. Even for those who don't lucid dream, the connection between dreams and creativity is undeniable. Some of history's greatest breakthroughs were sparked by dreams. The periodic table, the structure of DNA, literary works like Frankenstein, and surrealist art movements. Dreams allow the mind to escape linear thought and explore wild, non-linear combinations of ideas. This freedom makes them a wellspring of inspiration. But the challenge remains the same. Can you remember the dream once you wake? Many artists and inventors have trained themselves to seize the moment upon waking, writing or sketching before the vision slips away. In that gap between dreaming and waking lies a portal to brilliance, if you can catch it in time. Ultimately, our obsession with dreams is a reflection of our yearning to understand ourselves. Dreams are deeply personal yet utterly mysterious. They feel important even when we can't explain why. They speak a language we almost understand, a language of symbols, emotions, and memories woven together in strange new forms. When we forget them, it feels like losing a piece of ourselves. And when we remember them, even imperfectly, we're drawn into a story authored by something deeper than our conscious thoughts. In dreams, we are writer, actor, and audience all at once. This duality of obsession and forgetfulness is what makes dreams so powerful. They are fragile masterpieces, painted in the dark, erased by the light. Yet every night, we return to them, drawn by curiosity, comfort, or mystery. Whether remembered or forgotten, they change us in ways we may never fully grasp. And perhaps that's the point. Not all journeys need to be remembered to leave a mark. Some simply pass through us, reshaping us silently, like the tide reshapes the shore. So the next time you dream, even if you forget, know this: something deep within you remembers. Even if your mind lets go, your soul holds on. 90% of your dreams vanish within 10 minutes. Here's why. Every night as we fall asleep, we drift into a dreamscape that feels vivid, emotional, and real. Colors feel brighter, emotions run deeper, and events unfold with a logic all their own. We become the main character in a story crafted by our subconscious, sometimes comforting, sometimes terrifying. And yet, within just 10 minutes of waking, nearly 90% of that intricate dream world vanishes, gone like fog in morning sunlight. We wake up with the faint impression that something important just happened, but it slips through our fingers before we can catch it. Why does something that feels so real disappear so quickly? To understand this, we must begin with how the brain stores memory. Memories, especially the ones we hold onto long-term, require a specific set of neurological events. They need encoding, consolidation, and retrieval, all processes that rely heavily on areas like the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. During our REM sleep, when most vivid dreaming occurs, these areas are not functioning at full capacity. The brain is instead focused on emotional regulation, creativity, and visual processing. It's building surreal experiences with great intensity, but it's doing so while dialing down the very machinery that allows us to remember them. This disconnect is key. It's like watching a film with incredible detail, only to realize afterward that the camera wasn't recording. Your brain created a rich narrative, but without engaging the systems necessary to convert that experience into a lasting memory, it simply fades away. Dreams are stored in short-term, highly volatile memory. If we don't transfer them quickly to conscious awareness, they vanish. The first few moments upon waking are critical. During that fragile bridge between sleep and wakefulness, the dream is still present. But with every passing second, the bridge collapses and the dream dissolves. There's also the matter of brain chemistry. During REM sleep, levels of certain neurotransmitters like norepinephrine are significantly reduced. Norepinephrine plays a vital role in memory formation and alertness. Its absence is one of the reasons we don't form strong memories while dreaming. Our brains are functioning in a different chemical state, one optimized for imagination and emotional exploration, not for long-term data storage. When we wake, those chemical levels shift, but by then, the window for memory encoding has largely passed. We return to our waking state without the ability to retrieve what just happened in the subconscious realm. But even if dreams are chemically and neurologically fragile, the emotional impact can linger. You might not remember the plot of your dream, but you remember how it made you feel: uneasy, joyous, confused, or sad. That's because emotional processing in the brain is active during dreaming, especially in areas like the amygdala. Emotions are more deeply etched into our mental framework than the events that triggered them. You may wake up with a tight chest or a sense of longing, not knowing why. The storyline is gone, but the emotional residue remains, echoing through your day like a song you can't quite recall. Curiously, the speed at which dreams vanish can be slowed with intentional habits. Keeping a dream journal and writing down fragments the moment you wake is one powerful method. Doing so tells your brain that dreams matter. Over time, your ability to recall them strengthens. You're teaching your mind to preserve these delicate impressions. Lying still in bed upon waking also helps. Movement jolts the brain into full wakefulness and pulls focus away from the dream world. But if you remain motionless and reflect, even briefly, you might preserve a thread long enough to weave it into memory. The phenomenon of dream forgetting may not be a flaw in design, but a feature. Some scientists suggest that dreaming is a kind of simulation training, testing emotional responses, navigating fears, exploring memories in distorted, symbolic ways. But like a rehearsal, the purpose isn't to remember the details, it's to prepare you beneath awareness. The forgetting is intentional. It keeps the subconscious tidy, prevents overload, and allows the brain to reset. After all, if we remembered every dream from every night, the sheer volume might crowd out more important waking memories. Still, it's human nature to want to hold on to what we can't quite grasp. The fleeting nature of dreams gives them a sacred, mysterious quality. They're like whispers from a deeper part of ourselves, brief messages from the unconscious, spoken in metaphors and shadows. Their vanishing act only makes them more fascinating. We chase them because they're just out of reach, and in doing so, we draw closer to understanding the deeper workings of our own mind. Some people even try to catch dreams using alarms set during REM windows, hoping to wake during a dream and immediately record it before it fades. And for those rare dreams that do stay with us, those that linger for hours or days, they become more than mere curiosities. They feel like messages, lessons, or even warnings. They stay because they mattered. Either emotionally, symbolically, or neurologically, they struck a chord. They crossed the threshold and left an imprint. These are the dreams that shape how we see the world, how we understand ourselves, and how we confront our fears or longings. In their presence, we're reminded that our inner world is vast, alive, and often more mysterious than the one we wake into. So the next time you wake up with only fragments, a blurry face, a strange room, a fleeting emotion, pause. Linger in the in-between. Try to listen before the dream slips away. And if it's already gone, know this: the forgetting is not a loss. It's part of the dance. The dream served its purpose, whispered its secret, and quietly returned to the place it came from. And tonight, when you drift off again, another will rise to take its place, waiting, vivid, and ready to vanish once more. Your brain is more active in sleep than when you're awake. We tend to think of sleep as a passive state, a time when the mind powers down, when thoughts dissolve into nothing, and consciousness flickers out like a light at the end of the day. But nothing could be further from the truth. Sleep is not a shutting off, but a shifting inwards. It's a transition into one of the most complex and dynamic states your brain can enter. While your body lies still and your muscles relax, your brain is running a silent symphony of patterns, pulses, and unseen awakenings. In fact, during certain phases of sleep, especially REM sleep, your brain is more active than it is during the day. This truth unsettles our assumptions. We imagine the waking brain as alert, engaged, and working hard to process stimuli. And yes, it is. But when we fall asleep, especially during REM cycles, the brain doesn't rest. It rearranges. It fires rapidly, processes memories, simulates realities, and runs emotional tests in secret corridors we rarely remember. Electroencephalogram scans, EEGs, show that during REM sleep, brainwaves speed up to levels nearly identical to wakefulness. Blood flow surges to specific areas of the brain associated with learning, emotion, and visual processing. The cortex lights up like a city at night. Your brain isn't resting. It's rehearsing, rewriting, and remembering. In many ways, sleep is when your brain does its deepest work. By day, we absorb information. We react. We store fragments. But it's during sleep that the mind sorts through the clutter, filtering what to keep and what to discard. Short-term memories are either stabilized or let go. Emotional experiences are reviewed and reshaped. Problems you've been stuck on, consciously or not, get analyzed from angles your waking mind wouldn't consider. Dreams may be the visible artifact of this hidden labor. But even when you don't remember dreaming, your brain is working, intensely and purposefully. Consider this: when researchers scanned the brains of sleeping subjects during REM, they discovered something remarkable. The areas of the brain responsible for logic and critical thinking, such as the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, dimmed. Meanwhile, regions tied to emotion, memory, and imagery, like the amygdala and hippocampus, lit up brightly. This shift explains why dreams feel emotionally intense, but often lack reason. Why you can be terrified or overjoyed by something nonsensical. The brain, while sleeping, prioritizes feeling over fact. It's not rehearsing logic, it's processing emotions, and it does so with tremendous energy and complexity. This emotional activity is part of why sleep is healing. During a REM sleep, your brain revisits the emotional themes of your day. It replays arguments, worries, hopes, and sorrows in a symbolic theater. It takes what hurt and tries to soften it. It lifts what mattered and tries to reinforce it. Without REM sleep, emotional regulation breaks down. Studies show that people deprived of REM become more irritable, reactive, and less able to distinguish between real and perceived threats. In short, your brain uses sleep not just to rest, but to recalibrate how you feel and respond to the world. But REM is only part of the picture. Non-REM sleep, especially deep slow-wave sleep, is equally profound. This is when the brain produces delta waves, some of the slowest and most synchronized rhythms in the human nervous system. During this stage, your brain consolidates declarative memories, prunes unnecessary synaptic connections, and performs cellular repair. It's a time of cleansing, both physically and mentally. Brain cells shrink slightly, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to flow more freely through the brain's structure. This process flushes out metabolic waste, including proteins linked to neurodegenerative diseases. It's as if the brain gives itself a deep rinse in the dark. We often wake up thinking we've done nothing, but beneath the stillness of our sleeping bodies, a revolution has occurred. Neurons have fired in sequences that mapped out new knowledge. Emotional wounds have been tended to in silent narratives. Networks have strengthened, reorganized, or fallen away. The mind isn't idling. It's dreaming, yes, but also testing simulations, solving hidden puzzles, and filing away fragments that make us who we are. Some neuroscientists believe we dream not to escape reality, but to test it, to run safe experiments in an unsafe world. What if we failed? What if we ran? What if we forgave? Even more fascinating is the fact that children, whose brains are rapidly developing, spend significantly more time in REM sleep than adults. In newborns, REM can take up to 50% of the sleep cycle. This suggests our REM sleep is vital to neurodevelopment. It's when neural connections are formed and strengthened. It's when the brain builds the scaffolding for language, perception, and imagination. As we age, the balance shifts, but the need remains. Sleep remains the brain's most sacred ritual of self-renewal. It is not just restorative, it is generative. The seeds of creativity, empathy, and problem solving are sown there. Some of the most brilliant minds in history intuitively understood this. Albert Einstein famously prioritized sleep, taking long naps and ensuring deep nightly rest. Thomas Edison, despite claiming to scorn sleep, took micro-naps during which some of his most creative ideas reportedly emerged. The great mathematician Ramanujan claimed that many of his equations came to him in dreams. These weren't idle fantasies, they were moments when the subconscious brain worked freely, unbound by logic or doubt, forming connections the waking mind would later marvel at. Behind every aha moment is often a night of silent, ceaseless processing. Modern neuroscience now encourages something ancient, honoring sleep, not merely as a health tip, but as a necessity for clarity, growth, and emotional resilience. When we're sleep deprived, brain scans show a disconnect between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. This leads to emotional overreaction, poor judgment, and cognitive fog. But after a night of good sleep, these systems reconnect. The mind functions as an orchestra again, coordinated, aware, and at peace. Far from shutting down, the brain in sleep becomes more whole, more synchronized, and more profound than we ever imagined. We also know now that the sleeping brain is surprisingly perceptive. Even during unconsciousness, the brain listens. It reacts to sounds, smells, and touch. Some people have even trained themselves to solve problems in dreams, giving themselves cues before bed. Lucid dreamers use this heightened brain activity to explore fears, rehearse speeches, or navigate grief. The brain, while asleep, is anything but silent. It is a hidden chamber of thought, awareness, and transformation. If waking life is where we act, then sleep is where we become. The self you wake up as is not the same self who went to sleep. And there's a mystery to this process that science hasn't fully explained. Why, if the brain is more active during REM sleep, do we forget our dreams? Why are the most meaningful internal experiences also the most fragile? Perhaps this is intentional. The brain may be doing work that must remain beneath the surface, beyond the reach of conscious interference. Just as we don't control our heartbeat or digestion, we don't always get to oversee our dreams. The brain is performing alchemy, rearranging the soul behind the scenes. The forgetting isn't a failure, it's a feature. It protects the work being done. So the next time you feel guilty for sleeping in, or think of sleep as wasted time, remember this: your brain is not idle. It is alive with color, emotion, and movement. It is clearing space for new learning. It is patching emotional wounds. It is refining your sense of identity and reality. When you drift into sleep, you enter a state more mysterious and more powerful than many of us realize. You surrender to a process older than thought itself, one that's been sculpting minds since long before language. You are not escaping the world. You are tuning into it in a deeper way. In the quiet darkness, your brain dreams in symbols, reshuffles the past, rehearses imagined futures, and cleanses itself of the day's chaos. It is a meditation of neural fire, a silent storm of meaning and memory. No screen, no conversation, no activity can match what the sleeping mind does each night. In this nightly journey, you become more human, more you. The noise of the world fades, but your brain begins its most sacred work, so rest well. Behind your closed eyes, wonders are unfolding. The real reason you dream of falling, chasing, or losing teeth. We all have those dreams, the ones that come back again and again, like echoes through time. You're falling through an endless void. You're being chased by something you can't quite see. You reach up and your teeth crumble in your hands. These dreams feel primal. They shake us awake, not always in fear, but in confusion, wonder, and sometimes shame. They seem to speak in a language older than words, urgent, symbolic, and deeply emotional. But why do these themes appear so often? Why do millions of people across cultures and ages share the same unsettling dream symbols? The answer lies somewhere between neuroscience, psychology, and the human soul. Let's begin with falling. It's one of the most reported dream experiences in the world. You're walking or standing, and suddenly you're plummeting. There's a lurch in your stomach, a jolt through your body, and often a snap awake. It's terrifying but not uncommon. The sensation of falling is so linked to our biology that it may originate from something called a hypnic jerk, a sudden muscle contraction during the early stages of sleep. It's as if the body is testing to see if it's safe to let go. But beyond biology, Falling dreams often reflect psychological themes: loss of control, instability, fear of failure, or sudden change. When you dream of falling, your subconscious may be registering a real-life fear. Maybe something is slipping out from under you. It could be emotional, financial, relational. The ground beneath you in waking life feels uncertain, and your dream translates that instability into a universal metaphor. Falling means vulnerability. It means something is no longer holding you. And the fear is not just physical, it's existential. In a world that often feels unpredictable, your mind turns that unease into gravity. The descent in your dream mirrors the doubts you may not say out loud. And yet, in dreams, you often never hit the ground, because the fear isn't about death. It's about the fear of the unknown. Now think of the chase. Another recurring dream. You're running. Your breath is heavy. Someone or something is behind you. You don't always know who it is. Sometimes it changes. Sometimes it's a person. Sometimes a shadow. But always there's urgency, fear, the need to escape. Chase dreams are less about the pursuer and more about what you're avoiding. These dreams arise when something in your waking life is being pushed aside, a responsibility, a confrontation, a feeling you don't want to face. The chaser becomes a stand-in for what you're suppressing. The faster you run in the dream, the harder you're trying to avoid it in real life. Psychologists suggest that chase dreams are the mind's way of urging you to turn and face the very thing you fear. It's your subconscious saying, stop running. Because the moment you turn to look at what's chasing you, the dream often shifts. Sometimes the pursuer disappears. Sometimes it transforms into something unexpected. A child, a version of yourself, even an animal. The chase is symbolic of the parts of us we'd rather not face. Guilt, shame, unfinished business. And it keeps reappearing until we decide to listen, to stop running, to finally engage with what's been following us, night after night. Then there are the teeth, crumbling, falling out, or vanishing. These dreams often bring a deep sense of dread, embarrassment, or helplessness. You run your tongue over empty gums. You see yourself in a mirror incomplete. Some dream analysts connect teeth dreams to anxiety about appearance, aging, or powerlessness. Teeth represent identity and vitality. We use them to eat, to speak, to express emotion. Losing them in a dream can reflect a fear of losing one's voice, of not being heard, or of losing face. In moments of transition, changing jobs, relationships, or even growing older, these dreams surface to signal insecurity or fear of being exposed. But teeth dreams go even deeper. In ancient cultures, teeth were symbols of strength and survival. Losing them could symbolize loss of control or fear of being unable to defend yourself. In modern life, it can point to fear of helplessness, especially in situations where you must present yourself confidently. Perhaps you're facing a new role, a confrontation, a looming decision. Your dream expresses this vulnerability by showing you something vital, your teeth, falling apart. And what's most unsettling isn't the pain, but the loss of something you assumed was permanent. It's a metaphor for all the things we thought we could count on, until suddenly we can't. These recurring dream themes, falling, chasing, losing teeth, aren't just popular because of coincidence. They're shared across cultures because they touch something universal. They speak to core human experiences: fear of change, fear of failure, fear of exposure. In our dreams, we don't reason our way through these fears. We feel them viscerally. We see them projected in symbols. The subconscious mind doesn't speak in language, it speaks in metaphor. And these dreams are like warnings, not to scare us, but to illuminate what lies beneath. The things we push down by day return at night, not to harm us, but to be acknowledged. It's worth noting that these dreams often return when we're at a crossroads. They show up in periods of stress, transition, or internal conflict. The falling dream when you're starting a new chapter. The chase dream when you're avoiding a hard truth. The teeth dream when you feel exposed or judged. They aren't random. They're mirrors. They're scripts written by the deepest parts of you. And even though they're unsettling, they're deeply honest. They show you what your waking mind is too distracted or too afraid to confront. Some people find it helpful to engage with these dreams, to write them down, to ask, what was I feeling? What's the theme? What in my waking life might this be pointing to? Over time, patterns emerge. You begin to see that dreams aren't meaningless. They're invitations. Each recurring dream is a message in a bottle, cast out from your subconscious to your waking self. And while you may not control what you dream, you can decide to listen, to take the hint, to face what you've been avoiding. And in doing so, the dreams often change. They soften, they resolve, because you're no longer running. Modern science has begun to catch up to what ancient traditions have long suspected. Dreams are therapeutic. They don't just entertain, they process, resolve, and integrate. Even when the dream is bizarre or disturbing, it's performing a function. It's your brain trying to make sense of emotion through symbol. And these symbols tend to repeat because the themes in our lives repeat. We're always facing change. We're always balancing between control and surrender, between action and avoidance, between what we show and what we fear. The dream world simply translates this dance into imagery we can feel, but not always explain. In a way, these dreams are reminders of how human we are. They show us that beneath our schedules, habits, and daily conversations, there is an emotional core that wants to be heard. Dreams don't care about politeness or logic. They cut straight to the truth. And that's why they stick with us. Not in detail, but in impact. You may forget the specifics of the chase or the sensation of your teeth falling out, but you remember the feeling, the helplessness, the urgency, the unease, because that's the message, not the dream itself, but the emotional truth it carries. So the next time you have one of these dreams, when you fall, when you run, when you feel your teeth begin to vanish, pause before brushing it off. Ask what your subconscious might be trying to tell you. Maybe there's a fear you haven't faced, a decision you're delaying, a truth you've buried, and maybe your mind in its own cryptic way is asking you to stop hiding, to look, to listen. Because dreams don't come to scare you, they come to wake you up. The scientific link between dreams and solving complex problems. There is a quiet intelligence to the sleeping mind, a kind of hidden genius that awakens the moment we drift away. While our waking hours are filled with logic, noise, and deadlines, our dream-filled nights speak in symbols, metaphors, and flashes of insight. For centuries, dreams were dismissed as nothing more than random mental static. But today, scientists are discovering what poets, mystics, and visionaries have long suspected. Dreams are not idle wanderings. They are engines of problem-solving, capable of rearranging our thoughts in unexpected and often brilliant ways. Your dreams may not just reflect your life, they may be shaping it, solving puzzles you didn't know you were working on. It might sound surprising, but the idea that we can solve problems in our sleep is backed by modern neuroscience. During REM sleep, the brain isn't resting, it's lighting up with activity. The visual cortex, emotional centers, and associative networks all spark to life, creating a playground where information is freely combined without the constraints of logic. This unique state allows the mind to link unrelated ideas, test out scenarios, and arrive at conclusions that feel revelatory upon waking. It's a state of heightened creativity, born not from conscious effort, but from surrendering to sleep's strange theater. One of the most famous examples of dream-based problem-solving is the story of August Kekulle, the chemist who discovered the ring structure of the benzene molecule. He had been working on the problem for years without success. Then, one night, he dreamt of a snake biting its own tail, a symbol known as the Ouroboros. When he woke, he realized the molecule's structure was circular, not linear. That moment changed chemistry forever. Kekulle's subconscious had taken the pieces his conscious mind couldn't arrange and formed them into a coherent shape. It was the dream, not the lab, that delivered the answer. This isn't an isolated case. Paul McCartney once said the melody for Yesterday came to him in a dream. Dmitri Mendeleev claimed the idea for the periodic table appeared to him in sleep. And Indian mathematician Srinivasa Ramanujan often described seeing equations unfold before him in his dreams, solutions he later verified as accurate. These stories, scattered across disciplines and centuries, point to the same phenomenon. The brain doesn't stop working when we sleep. It works differently. Looser, bolder, freer. And in that freedom, solutions arise. What makes the dreaming brain so effective at solving complex problems is its detachment from constraints. In waking life, our thinking is often linear. We follow rules, we filter ideas, we avoid leaps that feel too risky or strange. But in dreams, those filters are turned off. The brain is allowed to wander, to connect ideas that seem unrelated, to simulate realities without judgment. It's a kind of cognitive sandbox where trial and error can unfold without consequence. This sandbox is especially helpful for problems that require creativity, innovation, or a shift in perspective, things logic alone can't always provide. Neuroscientists have also found that sleep enhances what's known as gist extraction. This is the brain's ability to sift through details and pull out the core meaning or underlying pattern. You might spend a day studying a complex problem and feel stuck, but after sleeping on it, you wake with a fresh perspective. Suddenly, something clicks. This isn't magic. It's the brain at work during sleep, consolidating memories, discarding noise, and extracting the meaningful thread. It's as if the mind continues the conversation long after you've stopped listening and offers its conclusion at dawn. One study conducted at Harvard asked students to work on logic puzzles. Some were allowed to sleep between attempts, while others were not. The students who slept performed significantly better the next day. Another study out of the University of Lübeck in Germany found that sleep actually triples the chances of solving a difficult problem. Participants were given a number-based puzzle with a hidden shortcut. Those who got a full night's sleep were more likely to discover the shortcut than those who stayed awake. In both cases, sleep didn't just recharge the mind, it restructured the problem in a new light. Even short naps can activate this process. Known as incubation, the idea is that stepping away from a problem, especially through sleep, allows the subconscious mind to work in the background. Many people have experienced this. You're stuck on something, you walk away, sleep on it, and suddenly the solution appears. It's not that the answer came from nowhere. It came from within, a slow, subconscious process that matured while you rested. The brain, free from distractions, worked the problem quietly like a gardener tilling soil in darkness. What's especially intriguing is how dreams themselves often contain symbolic solutions. A dream may not present the answer directly, but it can nudge you in the right direction. You might dream of a collapsing bridge and wake with insight about a failing relationship, or dream of a locked door and realize there's something you haven't been willing to face. These symbolic connections may seem vague, but they often carry emotional clarity. Dreams speak in metaphors, not manuals. Their solutions are felt before they're understood, and yet, they work. Lucid dreaming takes this one step further. In a lucid dream, you know you're dreaming, and sometimes you can guide the dream. Some people use this state to explore problems intentionally. They might ask a question before bed and attempt to revisit it while dreaming. While still a niche practice, early research shows that lucid dreamers can improve motor skills, practice performances, or simulate difficult conversations. The dreaming brain, even in this heightened state of awareness, remains a powerful tool for learning and adaptation. It's not just a place for escape, it's a training ground for life itself. But dreams don't only solve intellectual problems. They help us solve emotional ones. Emotional conflict, grief, anxiety, and unresolved memories often appear in dreams, not to haunt us, but to be worked through. The dreaming brain creates safe spaces to revisit these feelings, often through metaphor and distortion. This emotional rehearsal helps build resilience. A dream about arguing with a lost loved one may reflect lingering guilt. A dream about falling may mirror the fear of losing control. And by feeling those emotions in dreams, the brain gives us a chance to process them gently and symbolically. This emotional resolution can lead to real-world clarity. You might wake with a lighter heart, a stronger sense of purpose, or a new understanding of what you want. Sometimes the problem was never intellectual, it was emotional. You didn't need more facts. You needed to feel, to listen, to grieve, or to let go. Dreams allow that. They bypass our defenses. They take us into ourselves, not to confuse us, but to show us what matters. And once we see that clearly, decisions that once felt impossible suddenly feel simple. In this way, dreaming becomes a kind of wisdom. A slow, quiet, non-linear wisdom that doesn't shout, but whispers. It tells you what you already know, but haven't admitted. It shows you what you already feel, but haven't faced. And in doing so, it untangles knots that waking life left behind. The mind, while asleep, becomes not just a solver of puzzles, but a healer of wounds. It's not about productivity, it's about integration, making sense of the parts, restoring harmony to the whole. So how can we work with this process more intentionally? One way is to ask a question before bed, not forcefully, but with curiosity. Hold it gently in your mind, then let go. Keep a notebook by your bed. Record what you remember, no matter how strange. Patterns emerge over time. Symbols repeat. Insights surface. Over weeks or months, you begin to see that your dreams have a shape, a voice, and a rhythm. They aren't nonsense. They are messages. And the more you listen, the clearer they become. It's also important to give sleep the space it needs. In a world obsessed with hustle, sleep is often treated as optional. But it's not a luxury, it's a biological necessity. A sacred space for the mind to recalibrate. If you want deeper thinking, more creativity, stronger intuition, and emotional balance, sleep is your gateway. The mind works while you rest. And sometimes the best thing you can do for a problem is to sleep on it. Let the dream do its work. Let the brain make its quiet magic. And when you wake, don't be surprised if the answer is waiting for you. Because within the quiet folds of night, the mind sees what the eyes cannot. It hears what the noise of day has drowned. It understands without explaining. And in the stillness of dreams, the soul remembers how to think clearly, feel deeply, and see whole truths. The answers were never far. They were just waiting in the silence, waiting in the dark. How blind people dream without visuals, and what it reveals. When we think of dreams, we often imagine them as a kind of private movie. Images flash across the mind's eye. People appear and vanish. Landscapes morph. Objects float or shimmer. But what if you had never seen light, never formed a visual memory, never once perceived shape or color with your eyes? Would your dreams be empty, silent, or would they be something else entirely, something deeper, perhaps even more vivid in its own mysterious way? For people who are blind, especially those blind from birth, dreams take on a radically different form, and the way they experience dreams opens a door to understanding not only the brain, but the nature of consciousness itself. Dreaming without sight isn't the absence of a dream. It's the emergence of a different language. While most of us rely heavily on vision in waking life, our brains are remarkably adaptable. In those who are congenitally blind, born without sight, the brain doesn't simply sit idle where vision would normally be processed. Instead, it rewires. The occipital lobe, typically devoted to interpreting images, becomes attuned to other senses. Touch, sound, smell, emotion. For those without vision, the brain leans into these other inputs, both while awake and while dreaming. And so their dreams are not visual, they're spatial, tactile, auditory, and richly emotional. Imagine a dream not as a series of images, but as a full-body experience. A shift in air pressure, a familiar voice whispering your name, the softness of a blanket, the smell of rain on warm pavement. In the dreams of blind individuals, these elements become vivid, sometimes even more so than images are for the sighted. The brain builds worlds not from visual memories, but from the textures of life lived in a different register. Dreams might unfold as sequences of soundscapes, of voices moving through imagined spaces, of touch that carries emotional meaning. These aren't less vivid dreams, they are just vivid in a different dimension. Scientific studies support this. Researchers who examined the dreams of blind individuals found that, while those who became blind later in life may still experience visual fragments in dreams, those blind from birth do not dream in pictures. Instead, they dream in layers of meaning built from the senses available to them. They report highly detailed experiences, hearing conversations, feeling surfaces, recognizing people by their voice or their presence. In fact, their dreams often feature stronger auditory content than those of sighted people. The brain, it turns out, doesn't need eyes to dream. It simply needs experience. And the dream is shaped by the senses through which that experience is gathered. This reveals something profound about how dreaming works. We tend to believe that dreams are like replays, montages of visual memories stitched together by sleep, but blind dreamers challenge this. Their dreams show us that memory isn't just visual. It's emotional. It's sensory. It's relational. Dreams are constructed not just from what we've seen, but from what we've felt. The sound of a parent's voice, the sensation of walking through an unfamiliar room, the anxiety of a moment, the joy of connection. These elements are just as real, and in dreams they come to the surface, sometimes more clearly than in waking life. And there's something else. Dreams in the blind often contain more elements of touch and motion. Some report dreaming of walking through space, navigating with sound, feeling the grain of wood beneath their hands, or sensing the nearness of a person by their breathing. This kind of dream points to the brain's remarkable plasticity. When vision is absent, the other senses don't just pick up the slack, they deepen. They become more attuned, more layered, more expressive. And dreams become a kind of haptic symphony, where meaning comes not through pictures but through textures of sound, pressure, movement, and memory. In one study, blind participants described dreams where they had meaningful conversations, touched objects with distinct textures, or heard environments shift from calm to chaotic. Their dreams included smells, body posture, orientation in space. In one account, a man dreamed of walking into a room and instantly knowing it was full of people, not by seeing them, but by the way their presence changed the sound of the air, the way voices echoed, the way warmth radiated from different directions. He wasn't imagining visuals, he was sensing presence. And in the dream, that presence was as real as anything seen with eyes. What this tells us is that dreaming is not about imagery, it's about awareness. It's about perception in the deepest sense. The brain builds a reality out of whatever tools it has, and in doing so, reveals that consciousness is not limited to one channel. For the blind, the absence of sight doesn't mean the absence of imagination. On the contrary, it suggests that imagination runs deeper than images. It weaves together meaning from everything the body absorbs, from emotion, from sound, from memory, from intuition. The mind dreams not in pictures, but in presence. There's also something deeply humbling about this, because it reminds us that our own dreams, though drenched in visuals, are still symbolic. The images we see are metaphors. A storm may represent anger. A staircase may symbolize progress. A locked door might point to fear or repression. For the blind, those metaphors appear through other senses. A sudden silence may stand for anxiety. A change in texture may signal a change in relationship. The symbols adapt to the language of experience. But the structure of dreaming, the need to feel, to understand, to resolve, remains universal. And this universality is key. It shows that dreaming is not about eyes. It's about the human condition, about the mind trying to process the world it lives in. Whether we see or hear or feel our dreams, we are all using them to make sense of what's inside us. The blind dream of love, of fear, of longing, of joy, just like anyone else. Their dreams are not inferior or less complete. They are differently constructed but equally profound. And in many ways, they are a reminder that meaning lies not in what is seen, but in what is experienced. These insights also raise important philosophical questions. If dreaming doesn't require vision, then consciousness doesn't either. Our sense of self, of time, of identity, all of it can be constructed without images. This challenges our assumptions about what it means to be aware. It suggests that consciousness is multimodal, flexible, and deeply personal. The dream is not an imitation of the world. It's a reflection of the inner world, shaped by the tools we've been given. And those tools don't need to include sight to be powerful, beautiful, or transformative. So what can the sighted learn from blind dreamers? We can learn to listen more deeply, to value texture, sound, and intuition in our own dreams, to move beyond just the images and ask what's being felt, what's being sensed, what's being resolved. We can remember that dreams are more than movies. They are messages. And those messages speak to us in many voices, sometimes visual, sometimes not. They come to us in the ways we're able to receive, and they always point toward understanding. There's also something comforting in knowing that dreaming is so universal, that no matter how we navigate the world, by sight, by touch, by sound, we all dream. We all imagine. We all reflect. We all heal through sleep. The dreaming brain, in all its mystery, reminds us that we are not limited by the senses we've been given. We are not trapped by what we can or cannot see. We are, at our core, meaning makers. And even in the absence of vision, the mind creates light in other ways. So as you drift off tonight, consider this. Somewhere, someone who has never seen a sunset is dreaming. Not in colors, not in images, but in sensations and sounds that form their own kind of beauty. They are walking through their own landscapes, listening to their own memories, feeling the presence of people they love. And in that space, they are no less awake, no less aware, no less alive. Their dreams are not broken versions of yours. They are complete worlds, built from different materials but powered by the same mystery, the same depth, the same need to understand. Dreaming, it turns out, is not about the eyes. It's about the soul. You can control your dreams, Lucid Dreaming Secrets explained. There's a moment, quiet, rare, and almost magical, when something shifts inside a dream. You suddenly realize that none of it is real. The sky that changes color, the hallway that never ends, the stranger with a familiar face. In that moment of awareness, everything changes. You're no longer a passive observer, swept along by the dream's current. You're awake inside the dream. You are lucid. And for a brief window in the middle of sleep, you can shape the world around you. You can fly, ask questions, visit memories, or simply watch, knowing that none of it is bound by the laws of waking life. This is lucid dreaming, and it's not a fantasy. It's a skill, a door you can learn to open. Lucid dreaming is not new. Ancient texts from Tibet, Greece, and the Hindu Upanishads reference dream awareness and control. The idea that one could become conscious within a dream has fascinated mystics, philosophers, and now scientists. But for most people, the idea still feels strange. How could you be awake and asleep at the same time? How could a dream feel so real and yet be recognized as unreal? And most importantly, how can you learn to do it? At its core, lucid dreaming is about metacognition, the ability to reflect on one's own state of awareness. During sleep, especially in REM stages, the brain is highly active. In a lucid dream, certain areas of the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for self-awareness, reactivate just enough to let you realize that you're dreaming. It's a spark of clarity in the middle of a dream fog. And in that spark, possibilities open. You can interact with the dreamscape consciously. You can explore your subconscious. You can even ask your dream questions. And sometimes, get unexpected answers. One of the most fascinating aspects of lucid dreaming is how real it feels. The sensations, the wind against your skin, the feeling of weightlessness, the sound of your voice, can be indistinguishable from waking life. Your brain, after all, creates perception. Whether it's triggered by real stimuli or imagined ones, the experience is real to you. This is why lucid dreams can be so powerful. They feel real, but they are safe. You can face fears, revisit memories, and experiment with new versions of yourself, all in the sandbox of the mind. But how do you enter this state? How does one move from ordinary dreaming to lucidity? There are several techniques, and while they take practice, they are accessible to anyone with patience and curiosity. The first step is simple. Remember your dreams. Keep a dream journal. Write down whatever fragments you can recall each morning. This habit signals to your brain that dreams are important. Over time, your recall will improve and patterns will emerge. You'll begin to recognize recurring themes, settings, or symbols. And these will become your entry points, your cues that you're dreaming. The next tool is the reality check. Several times a day, ask yourself, am I dreaming? Look at your hands. Try to push a finger through your palm. Look at text or a clock. Look away, then look back. In a dream, these things often change or behave strangely. By performing reality checks while awake, you train your mind to question reality. Eventually, this habit carries over into your dreams. One night, you'll do a reality check, and it will fail. That's the moment you wake up inside your dream. Another method is called mild, mnemonic induction of lucid dreams. As you fall asleep, repeat a phrase like, I will realize I'm dreaming. Focus on your intention. Visualize yourself becoming lucid. This primes your subconscious. Another technique is wake back to bed. Set an alarm for 5 to 6 hours after you fall asleep. Wake up briefly, stay awake for a few minutes. Then go back to sleep. This increases the chance of entering REM with heightened awareness, making lucidity more likely. There's also wild, wake-initiated lucid dreaming. This method involves maintaining awareness as your body falls asleep. It's a delicate process, and it can bring on strange sensations, vibrations, sounds, the feeling of sinking or floating. These are signs you're nearing the dream state. If you stay calm, you may transition directly into a dream with full lucidity. It's like walking through a doorway between worlds, with your awareness intact. But lucid dreaming isn't just about control. It's about exploration. Some people use it for fun, to fly, to visit fictional places, to experience the impossible. Others use it for healing, to confront nightmares, ease anxiety, or connect with lost loved ones. Some use it for creativity. Artists, writers, and inventors have used lucid dreams to solve problems or gather inspiration. The dream world is limitless, and when you enter it with awareness, it becomes a canvas, a mirror, a teacher. What's more, science has verified that lucid dreaming is real. In sleep labs, lucid dreamers have been able to communicate with researchers using eye movements. Since the body is paralyzed during a REM sleep, only the eyes can move. Trained lucid dreamers signal left, right with their eyes once they become lucid. EEG and fMRI scans show distinctive patterns when this happens. This isn't just anecdotal. It's observable. It's repeatable. Lucid dreaming exists, and the brain behaves differently when it happens. The benefits of lucid dreaming are still being explored, but early research is promising. People who lucid dream regularly often report reduced nightmare frequency, increased self-confidence, and improved problem solving. Because lucid dreaming strengthens self-awareness, it may even have applications in mindfulness and emotional regulation. It teaches you to notice your thoughts, to question your reality, and to stay calm in unfamiliar situations. These are skills that translate far beyond the dream world. But lucid dreaming also teaches humility. Even when you're aware, the dream has a mind of its own. Characters may speak in riddles. Environments may change unexpectedly. Sometimes you try to fly and fall. The dream reminds you that control is an illusion, and that curiosity matters more. Lucidity is not about domination. It's about dialogue with yourself, with your fears, with your imagination. The dream becomes a conversation, not a conquest. And like all conversations, it requires listening. Many lucid dreamers report encountering aspects of themselves, shadow figures, inner guides, or versions of themselves they don't recognize. These encounters can be profound. A recurring character may offer insight into a decision you've been avoiding. A dream environment may mirror an emotion you haven't faced. When you become lucid, you can ask, "What do I need to know?" And often, the dream answers. Not always in words, sometimes in symbols, sometimes in silence, but always in truth. So if you've never had a lucid dream, don't worry. It's not a race. The ability lies within you, waiting to be awakened. Start by noticing, by remembering, by asking gentle questions. Let the dream know you're listening. Let your sleep become a space of intention, not just rest. And one night, you'll find yourself standing in a dream, aware, awake, and free. And in that moment, you'll realize something extraordinary. That your mind is not a cage. That sleep is not a pause. That dreams are not illusions. They are maps. And lucidity is the compass that allows you to walk them with eyes wide open. Nightmares aren't random. They reveal unresolved emotional pain. We often wake from nightmares with our hearts pounding and our breath short, shaken by images that feel far too real. A dark figure in the corner. A fall that never ends. A voice shouting from nowhere. Even when we know it was only a dream, the feeling lingers. The anxiety stays in our chest. The fear clings to our thoughts. Nightmares disturb not just our sleep, but our sense of safety, our peace of mind. And yet they are not accidents. They are not glitches. Nightmares are not random. They are the mind's way of speaking the unspeakable, of bringing unhealed wounds to the surface when we are quiet enough to feel them. For centuries, nightmares were dismissed as meaningless or superstitious. They were blamed on late meals, strange spirits, or overactive imaginations. But today, science and psychology offer a deeper understanding. Nightmares are now recognized as emotional messages, urgent ones. They are dreams with purpose. They do not come to torment us, but to alert us. They are signs of something unresolved, something that still needs to be felt, named, or healed. The fear in a nightmare is rarely about the dream scenario itself. It's about what that scenario symbolizes. Beneath the monster or the chase or the fall is an emotion we've buried. Our waking lives are filled with distractions. We scroll, we work, we push through discomfort. We tell ourselves we're fine, but the subconscious holds on to what we ignore. Pain that hasn't been processed, grief that hasn't been cried out, fears we've numbed, shame we've hidden. And when the world goes dark and the conscious mind rests, these unresolved emotions rise. not to punish, but to process. The brain uses symbols, stories, and sensations to dramatize our pain, so we'll finally pay attention. So we'll listen to what we've been avoiding. Research shows that nightmares are especially common in people who have experienced trauma, anxiety, or loss. Veterans, survivors, and those with PTSD often report recurring nightmares that replay frightening scenes or twist them into surreal threats. These dreams are not just memories. They are emotional replays, looping until the mind feels safe enough to let them go. The repetition is not random. It's an echo of something unhealed. The nightmare repeats because the wound is still open, and when we begin to address the emotion behind the dream, the nightmare often begins to change or disappear. Even everyday stress can trigger nightmares. A difficult conversation, a looming deadline, a fractured relationship. The conscious mind may downplay it, but the dreaming brain doesn't lie. It registers the tension and expresses it in metaphor. You might dream of losing your voice, not because of your throat, but because you feel unheard. You might dream of drowning, not from water but from overwhelm. These symbols are powerful because they bypass logic and speak directly to emotion. Nightmares are like emotional alarms. The volume is loud because the message matters. Nightmares also serve a function. They help us process emotional pain in a safe, contained space. When we dream, our brains simulate emotional situations, allowing us to feel fear, sadness, or anger in symbolic form. This is called emotional memory consolidation. It's how we begin to integrate difficult experiences, even without consciously realizing it. The nightmare becomes a rehearsal, a way for the brain to face a threat, respond to it, and gradually reduce its emotional charge. Over time, if the nightmare is understood or addressed, it often becomes less intense. The dream may shift. The scenery may change. The threat may fade. Lucid dreamers sometimes use this process intentionally. By becoming aware in the middle of a nightmare, they can confront the fear directly. They can ask the monster, "What do you represent?" They can speak to the shadow, touch the fire, stand their ground. And often, the dream responds. The threatening figure softens. The scene transforms. The act of facing the fear, in the dream or in waking reflection, begins to dissolve its power. Because nightmares are not enemies. They are messengers. And when we face them, we honor the message. Even when you're not lucid, you can work with nightmares after waking. Start by writing the dream down. Describe it in detail. What happened? What did you feel? Who was there? Then ask yourself, what part of me is this dream reflecting? What emotion is being shown? What real-life situation might this be echoing? You don't need to interpret every symbol perfectly. Just be curious, open, willing to listen. Nightmares often contain clues about what you fear, what you're grieving, what you need. They are windows into the subconscious, showing you where healing is needed. Sometimes nightmares revisit old memories, childhood places, lost people, painful mistakes. These dreams may bring back things you thought you'd forgotten, but they return for a reason. The emotion is still alive. It still wants to be seen. And the dream gives you a second chance, not to relive the moment, but to feel it fully, to witness it, to grieve it. To begin, maybe for the first time, to let it move through you. Healing begins with acknowledgement. And the nightmare, strange as it sounds, can be the first step in that process. Some people try to avoid nightmares by suppressing them, avoiding sleep, numbing emotions, or distracting the mind. But suppression rarely works. The more we push something down, the more the subconscious pushes back. Instead of silence, we get louder dreams. Instead of clarity, we get confusion. The real path to peace is through compassion, through listening, through asking what the dream is trying to say. When you meet a nightmare with openness instead of fear, something changes. The dream softens. The pain feels less sharp. You begin to reclaim the parts of yourself that were hidden in shadow. Not all nightmares are trauma-based. Some arise during periods of growth, change, transformation. As we evolve, the mind sheds old patterns, old fears, and sometimes those parts don't go quietly. The nightmare becomes a kind of initiation, a psychological test. It asks, are you ready to let go of who you were? Are you ready to move into something new? And so the fear comes, not to hold you back, but to show you what you must release. The monster in the dream may be the fear of change itself, and by facing it, you take a step forward. So the next time you wake from a nightmare, don't rush to forget it. Sit with it. Breathe into the fear. Ask what part of you is speaking, what pain is ready to be healed, and remind yourself, this dream didn't come to harm you. It came to help you heal. It came to show you where you're hurting, where you've been silent, where you still carry something heavy. It is the subconscious knocking on your door, asking to be heard. And the more you listen, the more peaceful your dreams may become. Because the opposite of a nightmare is not silence, it's integration. It's wholeness. It's dreaming in safety, in clarity, in self-acceptance. Nightmares only persist when we ignore their message. But when we turn toward them, they evolve. The chase becomes a conversation. The fall becomes a surrender. The shadow becomes a guide. And in that transformation, we find something beautiful. We find ourselves. What your betrayal dreams say about hidden fears. You wake with a tightness in your chest. The image is still vivid. A friend who lied. A partner who vanished. A family member turning away. The betrayal felt real. The pain was sharp, confusing, and personal. And yet, when you open your eyes, the world is unchanged. No one has done anything wrong. But inside, something lingers. A question. A weight. A discomfort that doesn't fade just because it wasn't real. Dreams of betrayal are among the most emotionally charged dreams we have. And they are never just about the people in them. They are about something deeper. Something hidden. A fear you may not even know you're carrying. Betrayal dreams are not random. They surface when trust is fragile, either in others or in yourself. These dreams don't appear simply because of what someone else has done. They often reflect your own insecurities, anxieties, or unresolved emotions. A dream where a partner cheats may have little to do with their actual behavior and more to do with your own fear of being abandoned. A dream of a friend turning on you may reflect feelings of inadequacy, comparison, or past experiences where your loyalty was not returned. These dreams speak in symbols, but they always point inward. The mind doesn't create betrayal dreams to punish or scare you. It creates them to reveal emotional truths you haven't yet explored. They are emotional metaphors, designed not to mirror the outer world but to express the inner one. They ask you to look beyond the surface. Who or what in your life feels uncertain? Where do you feel exposed? Where have you silenced your own needs for fear of rejection? Betrayal dreams bring those questions to the front, loud, vivid, and undeniable. Trust is a fragile thing. We extend it hoping it will be held with care. But when we've been hurt, whether recently or long ago, that trust becomes cautious. We build barriers, sometimes without realizing it. And the subconscious holds onto those barriers, even when our waking selves try to move forward. The result is a dream where that fear plays out, where betrayal isn't just imagined but felt. These dreams may replay a familiar wound, or they may exaggerate a small doubt into a dramatic scene, not because the dream is cruel, but because the emotion underneath wants to be felt, to be acknowledged, to be healed. It's important to remember that betrayal dreams rarely predict anything. They aren't warnings of what will happen. They are reflections of what already lives inside you. The emotions might be recent, like uncertainty in a relationship, or they might stretch back to childhood. Maybe a parent was emotionally unavailable. Maybe a friend moved on without explanation. Maybe you learned early on that being open could lead to pain. The mind stores these experiences, and they shape the lens through which we view connection. Betrayal dreams bring those stored emotions into the light, and in doing so they offer a path to understanding. Sometimes these dreams reveal not a fear of being betrayed, but a fear of betraying yourself. You might dream of breaking a promise, of hiding something, of watching someone walk away and doing nothing. In these dreams, you're not the victim, you're the witness, or the one who chose silence. These dreams speak to parts of yourself that may be neglected, a goal you abandoned, a boundary you didn't hold, a truth you didn't speak. In this way, betrayal dreams are not just about others. They are about the ways we betray our own intuition, our own voice, our own worth. There is power in naming this. When you wake from a betrayal dream, resist the urge to blame or overanalyze the person who appeared in it. Instead, ask, what did I feel in that dream? Was it anger? Sadness? Helplessness? Where in my waking life am I feeling something similar? The person in the dream is often just a symbol, a stand-in for something else. Your subconscious casts familiar faces in the role, not to accuse them, but to help you process the emotion safely. You feel betrayal in the dream. so you can examine trust in your life. These dreams often come at turning points. When you're entering a new relationship, taking a risk, or opening your heart after a long time closed, they come to test the foundation, to ask, are you ready to trust again? Are you holding on to old pain? Are you projecting past wounds onto new people? The betrayal dream is your inner self saying, let's look at this before we move forward. It's not a red light, it's a mirror. Dreams of betrayal can also be intensified by stress, especially the kind we push down. When we feel overwhelmed, disconnected, or uncertain, the mind looks for stories to express those feelings. A betrayal dream becomes a way to personify the stress. The feeling of being unsupported becomes a friend walking away. The fear of failure becomes a partner leaving without explanation. The mind weaves emotion into story, and the dream gives you a chance to feel it fully. Then release it. Healing from betrayal dreams doesn't always mean making changes in your outer world. It means getting honest about your inner one. Where do you feel vulnerable? Where do you need reassurance? What do you want to say but haven't? The more honestly you face those questions, the more the dreams begin to shift. They become less intense, less frequent, and eventually they transform. The betrayal becomes a lesson. The pain becomes clarity. The dream no longer needs to scream to get your attention. Journaling after a betrayal dream can be powerful, not just to capture the details, but to explore the feelings. Who was in the dream? What did they do? How did you feel? Where else in your life do you feel that way? Write without judgment. Let the emotion speak. Over time, patterns will emerge. You'll see that the dream isn't just random chaos, it's a coded message from within. And the more you decode it, the more connected you become to your emotional truth. Some find it helpful to write a letter to the person in the dream or to yourself, not to send, but to express. Say what you didn't get to say in the dream. Forgive what needs to be forgiven. Acknowledge what needs to be healed. This process brings closure, not to the person, but to the feeling. It tells your subconscious, I heard you. I understand. And that act of listening is often enough to change the narrative. In some cases, betrayal dreams may point to real-life dynamics that need attention. Maybe you are in a relationship where trust is shaky. Maybe you've been ignoring your gut feeling. The dream gives you a chance to explore that safely. But even then, it's not about assuming the worst. It's about inviting honesty, asking the right questions, listening to yourself, and above all, honoring the emotions that surface. Because at the heart of every betrayal dream is a longing to feel safe, to feel seen, to feel chosen. These dreams don't show up to break your heart. They show up to remind you of what it needs. They are not warnings. They are invitations. Invitations to heal, to reconnect, to trust again, not just others, but yourself. So when the next betrayal dream comes, and it will, from time to time, don't panic. Don't push it away. Sit with it. Ask what it's trying to show you. And know this, the pain you felt in the dream was not punishment. It was a message. And the message was this: you're ready to feel more deeply. You're ready to trust more wisely. And you're ready to love without carrying old wounds like armor. Sleep paralysis. When your mind wakes but your body doesn't. You wake but something is wrong. Your eyes flutter open, the room around you looks familiar, dimly lit, silent, unmoving. But your body doesn't respond. You try to move a finger, a foot, anything, but nothing happens. A pressure sits heavy on your chest. You want to cry out, but your voice won't come. And then comes the sensation. Someone's in the room, watching, waiting, standing just beyond your line of sight. Maybe it's a shadow. Maybe it's nothing. But the fear is real. This is sleep paralysis, and for those who've experienced it, it can feel like a waking nightmare you can't escape. Sleep paralysis is one of the most haunting phenomena of sleep. A strange space where consciousness returns, but the body remains frozen in the grip of slumber. It's terrifying because it blurs the line between dream and reality. Your senses say you're awake. You see the room. You hear the silence. But your body won't move. It's as though you're trapped inside yourself. And to make it even more disorienting, many people report vivid hallucinations, figures, voices, presences. The mind, in this half-woken state, conjures fear into form. But while it feels supernatural, sleep paralysis is surprisingly well understood. It occurs when the brain wakes up during REM sleep, but the body has not yet exited its natural paralysis. During REM, the brain disables most voluntary muscles to prevent us from physically acting out our dreams. This paralysis is normal, necessary. But sometimes the timing gets scrambled. The mind wakes first, aware, alert, but the body lags behind. You're caught in between, conscious but immobilized. And in this fragile state, the brain can still dream, merging waking reality with the emotional and visual residue of the dream world. This is why sleep paralysis feels so surreal. You see your room, but the corners shift. You feel breath on your neck that isn't there. You hear footsteps in the hallway, even though you're alone. Your brain, still partly in REM mode, is blending memory, imagination, and raw emotion into sensory experience. It's not a dream, but it's not fully reality either. It's a liminal state, a twilight between worlds, where fear takes shape because fear is the strongest thing the mind can project. Across cultures and centuries, sleep paralysis has inspired myths and folklore. In Japan, it's called kanashibari, believed to be caused by vengeful spirits. In Newfoundland, it's known as the Old Hag, an invisible force that sits on the chest of sleepers. In Nigeria, it's attributed to demonic attacks. These stories share a common theme: a shadowy presence, a feeling of pressure, an overwhelming sense of being watched. These cultural interpretations give names to the fear, but they also reveal something deeper, that sleep paralysis touches a primal part of the human psyche, the part that fears helplessness, the part that dreads what it cannot see. Modern science, though, sees sleep paralysis not as a spiritual attack, but as a misfire between sleep cycles. It tends to occur when a person is sleep-deprived, under stress, or sleeping irregular hours. It's more common in those who suffer from anxiety, PTSD, or disrupted circadian rhythms. Even sleeping on your back has been linked to higher instances of sleep paralysis. And while the experience can be terrifying, it's usually harmless. The paralysis fades in minutes. The hallucinations vanish. The body wakes fully. But the fear can linger long after, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days. What makes sleep paralysis so intense is not just the immobility, it's the emotion, the fear, the panic, the helplessness. These feelings are amplified by the fact that you're conscious but unable to react. And because the brain is still in a hyper-emotional REM state, it projects that fear outward. It builds stories to explain the sensation. A figure in the doorway, a whisper from behind, a weight on your chest. These images are not real, but they are felt. And that feeling is what makes sleep paralysis so unforgettable. Yet, there's something fascinating beneath the fear. Sleep paralysis may be a window into the mechanics of consciousness. It shows us how flexible our awareness is, how easily the mind can slip between states. Waking and dreaming are not fixed locations. They are gradients. And sleep paralysis lives at the edge of that gradient, revealing just how layered our perception can be. It reminds us that consciousness isn't on or off. It drifts, it blends, and in those moments we glimpse how powerful and strange the mind truly is. Some people, once they learn what sleep paralysis is, begin to fear it less. Understanding dissolves some of the terror. They learn to ride it out, to breathe slowly, to remind themselves, this will pass. This is my brain, not a threat. Some even use sleep paralysis as a doorway, a stepping stone into lucid dreaming or out-of-body experiences. By staying calm and riding the wave, they transition from paralysis into full dream control. For these people, the state that once brought fear now opens into exploration. But for most, the goal is simply to prevent it. And that begins with improving sleep hygiene, going to bed and waking at consistent times, avoiding caffeine late in the day, creating a relaxing pre-sleep routine, sleeping on your side, reducing stress. These habits stabilize the sleep cycle, reducing the chance that REM and waking will overlap. And if sleep paralysis does occur, knowing what it is can help dissolve its grip. You are not in danger. Your body is simply catching up. Your breath is still moving. Your heart is still strong. You are not alone, even in the silence. If sleep paralysis becomes frequent or deeply distressing, speaking to a sleep specialist or therapist may help. Sometimes it points to deeper anxiety or unresolved trauma. The brain is processing more than just rest. It's working through emotion. And sometimes that emotion spills into strange, fragmented awakenings. These moments, while jarring, are not signs of weakness. They are signs that your mind is working overtime, perhaps calling for stillness, for rest, for care. There's also a spiritual perspective to sleep paralysis, one that sees these moments not as glitches, but as thresholds to deeper states of awareness. The paralysis forces you to be still. The hallucination forces you to feel. And in that stillness, something opens. A space between fear and understanding, between illusion and truth. Some say that what you encounter in sleep paralysis is not just fear, but a part of yourself, a shadow self, a symbol of what you need to face. If you can sit with it, breathe through it, and not run, it changes. The shadow softens. The fear passes. And what's left is clarity. In the end, sleep paralysis is not an enemy. It's a messenger. A strange, unsettling one, but a messenger nonetheless. It reminds you that your mind is powerful, your awareness deep, and your sleep sacred. It calls for rest, for rhythm, for peace. And when you meet it with knowledge instead of panic, it becomes less frightening. You see it for what it is, a brief glitch in the great orchestration of sleep. A moment when the door between worlds opens a little too early, letting you glimpse the machinery behind the dream. So if you ever wake into that frozen silence again, remember this: it is temporary. Your body will move. Your breath will return. The shadows will fade. Let your heart be still. Let your mind be calm. And know that what you feel is not danger, it's depth. Your mind exploring its edges. Your consciousness walking the border between sleep and wakefulness. And on the other side, there is always morning, the thin line between astral projection and lucid dreaming. There is a moment, just before the veil of sleep pulls you under, where the world begins to blur. Your limbs feel heavy, your breath deepens, and suddenly you sense something strange, like you're floating just above your body, detached, aware, and impossibly calm. In this strange state, you're not dreaming, but you're no longer anchored either. It feels like you've stepped outside of yourself, into a space that isn't bound by walls, time, or gravity. Some call it a lucid dream. Others swear it's something more, a journey beyond the physical. This is the space where lucid dreaming and astral projection begin to merge, where lines blur and mystery unfolds. Lucid dreaming is the art of becoming aware within your dream. You realize, mid-dream, that everything around you is a creation of your mind. With practice, you can shape the environment, speak to dream characters, and explore vast landscapes of imagination. You remain safely within your body, your brain immersed in REM sleep, while your mind roams freely. It is a controlled dream, one where you walk with full awareness in a world made of thought. Astral projection, on the other hand, is something else, at least according to those who've experienced it. Also known as an out-of-body experience, astral projection is the sensation of leaving the physical body entirely. It's often described as floating above your bed, looking down on yourself, then drifting through rooms, streets, or even into realms that defy ordinary description. Unlike lucid dreaming, the world during astral projection feels less constructed and more discovered. There's a sense of stepping into something real, somewhere that exists with or without you. What makes this even more fascinating is how similar the two states can feel at first. In both, you're aware, you're conscious, you're free to explore, but the textures of the experience diverge. In a lucid dream, the world often shifts, warps, and responds to your thoughts. Mountains move, doors appear, the environment is fluid. In astral projection, practitioners report a kind of stability, a persistent sense of space, of distance, of reality not bending to their will. It feels external, independent. You don't create the world, you arrive in it. Both experiences often begin the same way, with a phase of sleep paralysis. Your mind wakes, but your body remains still. There might be vibrations, a loud humming, or a sensation of energy moving through the body. This threshold is delicate, and how you move through it may shape the experience. Focus on a dream image, and you may slip into a lucid dream. Focus on separating from your body, and you may find yourself in an out-of-body state. The sensations are so close that many people confuse the two, or even experience both in a single night. Science, so far, places both lucid dreaming and astral projection in the realm of internal consciousness. Researchers consider astral projection to be a type of vivid lucid dream, perhaps one that feels more real because of the strong sense of self and location. Neurologically, both involve high activity in the prefrontal cortex during REM sleep. The same brain regions light up in both states, especially those responsible for spatial awareness, imagination, and memory. But while lucid dreams are well documented in labs, astral projection remains elusive. You can't measure where the mind travels when it leaves the body. You can only ask and listen. Still, the subjective experiences are powerful. Some people claim to have seen things during astral travel that they couldn't have known otherwise. A lost object's location, a relative in another room, a view from the ceiling. These reports are anecdotal, yet persistent. And whether you believe astral projection is metaphysical or mental, the emotional impact is real. Many who experience it describe a shift in perspective, a deepened sense of self, a diminished fear of death, a feeling of connection to something beyond the ordinary. In the silence of floating above oneself, something changes. Both lucid dreaming and astral projection require similar skills, awareness, intention, and the ability to stay calm while the body sleeps. The first step is remembering your dreams, keeping a journal, practicing reality checks, training your mind to wake up inside your own inner world. Then comes the deeper work, meditative breathing, hypnagogic awareness, and letting go without losing consciousness. These practices blur the line between dream and projection, between internal and external, until the two begin to bleed into each other. Some say that lucid dreaming is the sandbox, while astral projection is the journey. One teaches you to shape, the other invites you to surrender. In lucid dreams, you're the creator. In astral states, you're the traveler. The dream bends to you while the projection demands that you adapt to it. This subtle difference speaks volumes about how each experience can shape your understanding of consciousness. One is a mirror, the other, a window. It's also worth noting that both states can be deeply healing. Lucid dreaming offers the chance to face fears, rewrite memories, and explore creativity. Astral projection often brings a sense of awe, clarity, and spiritual peace. People return from both with insights they didn't expect. A solution to a problem, a new direction, a forgotten emotion. They allow us to step out of the mental noise and into something more essential, something spacious, still, and deeply personal. But neither practice should be rushed. The mind is a layered place, and these states open doors that require patience and care. It's best to approach them with curiosity, not conquest. To ask, not to force. To let the experience unfold naturally. The more gently you approach these altered states, the deeper they tend to become. Lucid dreaming and astral projection are not tricks, they are invitations to deeper awareness. And perhaps that's the greatest gift these experiences offer. Not just freedom from gravity or time, but a new relationship with yourself. You begin to see that your mind is vast, that your awareness is not limited by your body, that there is a part of you that observes, even when your senses sleep. That part is what wakes inside the dream. That part is what floats above the body. And in listening to it, you rediscover a deeper self, one not bound by fear, labels, or the ticking clock of the waking world. So the next time you find yourself on the edge of sleep, when the body is still but the mind is glowing, don't be afraid to drift. Whether you enter a lucid dream or an astral plane, know that you are safe. You are whole. You are witnessing the quiet miracle of awareness stretching beyond its usual borders. Some will call it imagination, others soul travel. But whatever name you give it, the experience is yours, and it may just change how you see waking life forever. Descartes, Einstein, and Ramanujan all had game-changing dreams. In the quiet stillness of night, when the body rests and the outer world slips away, something remarkable happens. The mind, freed from distraction, freed from expectation, begins to explore its own depths. And sometimes, in that darkness, it uncovers something brilliant. Not fantasy, not chaos, but insight. A glimpse into a truth the waking world hasn't yet noticed. Some of history's greatest minds, thinkers, scientists, mathematicians, have described moments of revelation that came not during study or debate, but in dreams. These weren't just symbolic or emotional visions. They were precise, exact, life-changing, as if the universe spoke to them when the world was asleep. Take René Descartes, a philosopher, mathematician, and one of the foundational figures of modern rational thought. Yet his most transformative moment came not at his desk, but in a series of vivid dreams on a cold November night in 1619. At just 23 years old, Descartes found himself questioning everything he had learned. That night, as he slept near the banks of the Danube, he experienced a sequence of dreams that shook him to his core. He later described them as messages from a divine force. In one, a powerful wind forced him from his path. In another, he encountered a book of ancient wisdom. Upon waking, he interpreted the dreams as a call to find truth through reason and mathematics, a fusion that would guide his entire life's work. It was after those dreams that Descartes formulated the idea that all knowledge must be built on a firm foundation of certainty. He became obsessed with the question, what can I know for sure? That obsession gave birth to one of philosophy's most famous lines, cogito, ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. And it all began with a dream, a moment when logic surrendered to symbolism and meaning surfaced through mystery. It reminds us that reason and intuition are not enemies. They are partners. And sometimes it's the dream that gives reason its direction. Albert Einstein, too, was no stranger to dreams that shaped reality. As a child, he dreamed of sledding down a steep hill faster and faster until the stars above began to bend and curve around him. That image, he would later say, planted the seed of what became his theory of relativity. It was a simple dream, childlike, even, but it stirred something profound. It made him wonder, what would it feel like to move at the speed of light? What would time do? What would space become? Years later, as a young physicist, Einstein returned to that question, not with equations at first, but with thought experiments that resembled dreams. He imagined riding alongside a beam of light. He imagined elevators in free fall. He imagined clocks ticking at different rates depending on speed. These mental images weren't idle. They were keys. And though he worked rigorously to test and refine his theories, their origins were often born in intuitive, dreamlike visions. His theory of special relativity, published in 1905, reshaped how we understand time, space, and motion, but it began in silence, in sleep, in an image of sliding through starlight. Then there was Srinivasa Ramanujan, the Indian mathematician whose genius seemed to defy explanation. Largely self-taught, he filled notebooks with equations that astonished the world. But when asked how he discovered such complex and elegant formulas, Ramanujan gave a simple answer. They came to him in dreams. He said that the Hindu goddess Nimagiri would appear to him at night, revealing mathematical truths written in blood-red symbols on a scroll of light. He would wake and write them down, and many of them would later be proven correct, some decades after his death. Ramanujan didn't see mathematics as a system to be built. He saw it as a language to be received, a cosmic code that already existed, waiting to be seen. And his dreams were the window. His intuition was so strong that even seasoned mathematicians struggled to follow him. Yet when they did, they found elegance, precision, truth. In a world dominated by proof, Ramanujan stood as a reminder that some truths come not from reason alone, but from a place deeper, quieter, and harder to name. What unites Descartes, Einstein, and Ramanujan is not just their brilliance, but the source of their insight, dreams. Not random, fleeting fragments, but vivid, meaningful visions that shaped their work and changed the course of history. These weren't hallucinations. They were moments when the subconscious mind offered a gift, a fragment of clarity, a thread of meaning, a breakthrough wrapped in mystery. Science today has begun to recognize what these men understood intuitively, that the dreaming brain is not dormant. It is active, emotional, associative. It connects ideas across vast distances. It frees thought from logic, allowing imagination to make the first move. And in doing so, it creates the conditions for insight, for sudden understanding, for those moments of clarity we call epiphanies, the kind that cannot be forced, but can be invited. During sleep, especially REM sleep, the brain strengthens new connections, prunes unnecessary ones, and searches for patterns. It revisits problems without the rigidity of waking logic. This process is called memory consolidation, but it's more than memory. It's integration, creativity, recombination. A scientist might go to bed stuck on a problem and wake with a new approach. A writer may find the perfect metaphor. A composer might hear a melody. These aren't accidents. They are the fruit of a mind at rest and at work. To some, dreams remain nothing more than noise. But stories like these remind us that dreams can be more than echoes. They can be messages. Not always literal, not always understood, but meaningful. If we listen, if we write them down, if we stay curious. Descartes followed a dream and birthed modern philosophy. Einstein slid through stars and redefined time. Ramanujan received visions of numbers that continue to guide research today. Their work was grounded in rigor, but it was inspired by something less tangible, something mysterious, like a whisper in the dark. And what about you? What might your dreams be trying to show you? Maybe it's not a theory or an equation. Maybe it's a feeling you've buried, a truth you've avoided, a path you haven't yet walked. Maybe it's a story waiting to be told, a question waiting to be asked. The point is not to compare, but to wonder, to be open, to recognize that inside you is a mind capable of more than you realize. And sometimes, that more arrives not through force, but through stillness. So tonight, when the world grows quiet and your eyes begin to close, remember this: your dream may be more than just a dream. It may be a thread, a key, a door. Keep a notebook beside you. Honor what you remember, even if it's strange, even if it fades, because inside that fading may be the first note of something lasting, something meaningful, something only you were meant to see. You might solve problems better if you just sleep on them. It's a phrase we've all heard: sleep on it. We say it casually, a simple suggestion to delay a decision. But underneath that advice is something deeper, something surprisingly powerful. Because the truth is, sleeping on a problem doesn't just give you rest. It gives your brain space to think in a different way, quietly, deeply, and without interruption. And often, while you rest, the mind continues its work, rearranging, sifting, connecting, until suddenly what seemed tangled begins to unwind. The answer appears. The decision feels clearer. The problem begins to make sense. This isn't a metaphor. It's neuroscience. During sleep, the brain doesn't shut down. It reactivates, reorganizes, and reprocesses the day's information in ways waking thought cannot. Especially during REM sleep, the mind enters a state where associations strengthen, emotional experiences are integrated, and abstract connections form between seemingly unrelated ideas. It's a kind of cognitive alchemy where raw material becomes insight, not through effort, but through surrender. You fall asleep, but your mind stays curious. Consider how often it happens without you even trying. You struggle with a question all day, a creative block, a moral dilemma, a choice that weighs heavily. No matter how long you think about it, the answer doesn't come. You give up. You go to bed. And when you wake, something has shifted. A sentence is clearer. A path forward reveals itself. The tension is softer. You didn't solve the problem with conscious thought. You solved it by stepping away, by letting your subconscious mind take the lead. Scientists call this sleep-dependent problem solving, and the evidence is compelling. In one study, participants were given logic puzzles to complete. Some were allowed to sleep before attempting the second round. Others stayed awake. Those who slept were significantly more likely to solve the problems. Another study showed that people who napped after learning new information were better at integrating it creatively. Their minds didn't just remember more, they made new connections. The dreams they had weren't distractions. They were experiments. Your brain, during sleep, plays back memories. It tests them, rewrites them, blends them with others. It reactivates the neural circuits that were involved in learning, but now in a more flexible state. This flexibility allows for solutions that feel like sudden insight, what we call aha moments. The solution was never far. It was just waiting for your mind to soften, to slow down, to listen differently. It's no coincidence that so many breakthroughs throughout history have come not during long hours of labor, but after sleep. Paul McCartney dreamed the melody of yesterday. Elias Howe, the inventor of the sewing machine, envisioned the needle's eye in a nightmare. The mathematician Henri Poincaré described feeling stuck on a problem, until one night, the answer appeared fully formed in a dream. These weren't accidents. These were minds in motion, even at rest. And yet, in modern life, we rarely give sleep the credit it deserves. We chase productivity. We force focus. We fill our hours with noise, expecting solutions to come through sheer will. But some problems don't yield to pressure. They open when you stop pushing. They resolve when you allow the subconscious to speak, when you rest. There's a reason we have different kinds of intelligence: analytical, emotional, intuitive, and each has its own rhythm. Sleep honors those rhythms. It gives room to the quieter parts of you, the parts that don't speak in lists or bullet points, the parts that speak in images, feelings, symbols. It's why so many people wake with not just answers, but clarity. They don't just know what to do, they understand why it feels right. Of course, not all sleep is the same. The benefits of sleeping on a problem depend on the quality of sleep, especially the presence of REM cycles. These are the moments when the brain is most creatively active, when memories become dreams and insight is born. To tap into this power, consistency matters. Go to bed at the same time. Protect your nights from too much light, noise, or stimulation. Let sleep become a ritual, not just for rest, but for thought. You can even bring intention into your sleep. Before bed, reflect on the problem, not with stress, but with curiosity. Write it down. Ask a question, then let it go. Trust that your mind is still working. This simple act of intention can prime the subconscious to explore the problem during sleep, and often it will. Maybe not in direct answers, maybe in a dream, a metaphor, a quiet shift in how you feel, but something will move. The fog will thin. Lucid dreamers take this even further. They practice becoming aware inside the dream itself and use that space to ask questions, to rehearse conversations, to explore outcomes. And while that's an advanced practice, it points to something all of us can remember. Sleep isn't passive. It's active. It's intelligent. It's where the invisible parts of your mind do their most important work. Even naps can offer a kind of insight. A short burst of rest resets the mind. It breaks the loop of overthinking. And when you return to the problem, you see it differently. You notice something you missed. You try a new approach. Not because your brain is refreshed, but because it's reorganized. The pieces are in a new place now. And sometimes that's all it takes. But the deeper truth here is not just about efficiency. It's about trust. Trusting that solutions don't always come from force. That clarity doesn't always come from noise. That your mind, when given the space, knows what to do. It knows how to sort through complexity. It knows how to quiet the fear and lift the insight. You don't always have to understand how. You just have to give it time. There's something poetic about this, that even in stillness, even in the dark, your mind is moving toward understanding, that you carry inside you not just thought, but wisdom. And that wisdom often speaks when you stop trying to control it, when you sleep on it. So the next time you're stuck, creatively, emotionally, logically, pause. Rest. Let sleep be part of the solution. Not the escape, not the delay, but the space where thought softens into insight, where what was unclear begins to glow with quiet understanding. Because sometimes the best way forward isn't thinking harder, it's dreaming softer. Is astral projection real? What science and history say? Across cultures and centuries, one mysterious phenomenon continues to blur the lines between the physical and the spiritual: astral projection. It's the claim that consciousness can leave the body, that the soul, or an energetic double, can separate and travel elsewhere, through walls, across continents, into realms unseen. To believers, it is proof that we are more than flesh, that awareness is not trapped in the body, but merely visits it. To skeptics, it is a vivid dream, a trick of the brain, a psychological illusion. So which is it? Is astral projection real? Or is it simply a powerful metaphor for the deep inner workings of the mind? The answer, like the experience itself, lies in a space between knowing and not knowing. The idea of astral projection is not new. It reaches back into ancient history. In Egyptian texts, there are references to the Ka, a spiritual double that could leave the body at will. In India, yogic traditions describe subtle bodies capable of traveling through dimensions. In China, Taoist mystics wrote of spiritual journeys beyond the body. Even in Christianity, there are stories of saints and prophets who experienced visions that transported them far from their physical form. In nearly every culture, there are echoes of the same belief, that something within us can move beyond what is seen. In modern times, Astral projection has taken on new life through personal accounts. People describe lying in bed, often just before sleep or just after waking, and feeling a sudden shift, a sensation of floating, vibrating, or lifting out of their physical form. They say they look down and see their body resting, that they drift through walls, that they visit places they've never seen. Some say they encounter other beings. Others speak of moving through vast, formless realms of light or sound. These descriptions are often accompanied by feelings of peace, awe, or expanded awareness. And while details vary, the core sensation is strangely consistent. But what does science say? From a medical perspective, astral projection is generally classified as a type of dissociative experience. It often occurs in conjunction with sleep paralysis, where the body remains still but the mind is alert. During this phase, the brain may enter a dreamlike state, blending visual, auditory, and bodily sensations into a unified experience. Neurologically, the out-of-body experience can be linked to disruptions in the temporoparietal junction, a region of the brain that helps you locate yourself in space. When this system is temporarily confused or overstimulated, the brain may misinterpret sensory input, leading to the sensation of being outside the body. In clinical settings, out-of-body experiences have been artificially induced through electrical stimulation of the brain. One famous study conducted by neuroscientist Olaf Blank triggered such an experience by applying stimulation near the temporoparietal area. The subject reported floating and looking down on herself, despite remaining fully in the lab. Other researchers have used virtual reality to manipulate body perception, showing that the sense of self can be displaced under the right conditions. These findings suggest that astral projection might be a powerful illusion, a real sensation generated by internal processes. But if it's just the brain, does that make it any less meaningful? After all, everything we perceive, sight, sound, emotion, is filtered through the brain. If the out-of-body experience feels real, leaves a lasting impression, and alters your sense of self, does it matter whether it's physical or not? The experience of astral projection often leaves people transformed. They report a reduced fear of death, a renewed sense of purpose, or a deeper connection to something larger. For them, it isn't about proof. It's about presence. They may not know where they went, but they know they left, and the journey changed them. Skeptics often point to the lack of verifiable evidence. Attempts to validate astral travel through experiments, like having projectors see hidden objects placed in sealed rooms, have largely failed under controlled conditions. No one has yet proven the ability to gather verifiable information from an out-of-body state. This has led many scientists to conclude that astral projection is likely a lucid dream, enhanced by powerful belief and expectation. But perhaps this binary, real or not, is too narrow. Perhaps astral projection is both, a dreamlike state, yes, but one that taps into real layers of perception. The brain in this state may simulate distance and movement using memory, imagination, and emotion. But if those simulations lead to insight, healing, or transformation, then the experience has value. It reveals the incredible flexibility of consciousness, the ability to exist beyond ordinary constraints. And then there's quantum speculation. Some theorists have wondered, what if consciousness isn't entirely local? What if awareness interacts with the universe in ways we don't yet understand? While there's no scientific evidence supporting astral projection as literal travel, physics does admit that the nature of consciousness remains one of the greatest mysteries. We don't yet know what awareness truly is, or how it arises. And that uncertainty leaves room, however small, for deeper possibilities. Interestingly, people who practice astral projection often describe entering the state through intention and relaxation. They lie down, slow their breath, focus their mind. They visualize leaving the body. They wait for vibrations, for the telltale sense of detachment. Whether this leads to a neurological shift or something more metaphysical is still debated. But one thing is clear: it requires stillness. It requires surrender. It invites a kind of meditation that, even if nothing else happens, leaves the mind quiet and receptive. And that, in itself, is profound. There's also a spiritual angle to consider. For many, astral projection isn't about proving anything. It's about exploration, about expanding awareness, about reconnecting with parts of the self that everyday life keeps hidden. Whether or not the body was truly left behind is less important than what was felt, learned, or remembered. In this way, astral projection becomes less of an escape and more of a return to the deeper layers of mind, to imagination, to soul. It may also be a way to rehearse death. That may sound unsettling, but for those who've experienced it, it's often comforting. The feeling of floating, of separation, of calm, these sensations mirror many near-death experiences, and for some, astral projection is a kind of conscious preparation, a way to understand that the self is not bound by muscle and bone, that something continues, even if only as memory, as dream, as light. So is astral projection real? Science remains cautious, but experience continues to suggest otherwise, and maybe the truth lies somewhere in between. Maybe it's not about proof or disproof. Maybe it's about what you discover in the process. Maybe it's not a journey through space, but through self, through silence, through the thin, luminous edge of awareness. What we do know is this: consciousness is vast. It bends in ways we can't predict. It remembers in images. It speaks in sensations. It stretches beyond the waking world into realms where reason quiets and mystery begins. Astral projection, whether real or imagined, offers a glimpse of that mystery. A reminder that the mind is not a cage, that sleep is not surrender, that something waits beyond the noise of thought, calm, curious, and quietly watching. And maybe on some quiet night, when the air is still and the world softens, you'll feel it too. That pull, that shift, that sense of stepping lightly away from the body into something else, something old, something waiting. Stephen LaBerge's experiments that proved lucid dreaming was real. For most of history, lucid dreaming was seen as myth, fiction, or spiritual legend. People spoke of awareness within dreams, of shaping dreamscapes with intention, of flying through the night with full consciousness. Yet science had no way to confirm it. To researchers, dreams were foggy mental noise. Lucid dreaming, that was anecdote, that was fantasy, that was impossible to prove. But in the quiet hours of sleep research labs, one man would change everything. His name was Stephen LaBerge, and his experiments didn't just suggest lucid dreaming was real, they proved it. Stephen LaBerge began his journey not in mysticism, but in science. A Stanford University researcher with a background in psychophysiology, LaBerge had a curiosity that stretched beyond the conventional. He wanted to understand consciousness, not just awake but asleep. He wanted to ask, can awareness exist inside a dream? Can someone know they are dreaming and guide the experience from within? And more importantly, can we measure that? The challenge was clear. How do you communicate with someone who is dreaming? Once a person falls asleep, they're no longer able to move voluntarily. Speech is impossible. The body enters rhamatonia, a paralysis that keeps us from physically acting out our dreams. That's where most researchers had given up. But LaBerge saw a possibility, one tiny muscle group not paralyzed during REM, the eyes. Eye movement, he discovered, remains functional, even in the dreaming state. If a lucid dreamer could become aware within a dream and move their eyes left and right deliberately, it would create a measurable signal on an electrocardiogram, the tool that tracks eye motion. So LaBerge crafted an elegant solution: train lucid dreamers to signal with their eyes once they became lucid. 2 movements to the left, then 2 to the right. A conscious signal from inside the dream. And then, it happened. Inside the lab, with electrodes attached and scientists watching the screen, a sleeper entered REM. Brainwaves changed. Breathing shifted. The dream began. Then, 2 movements left, 2 movements right. Just as trained. A perfect signal from within the dream, not random, not reflexive, controlled, conscious, real. That moment rewrote the conversation. For the first time in history, researchers had proof, not belief, not guesswork, but data, that someone could become self-aware within a dream and communicate outward. The line between dreaming and waking had been pierced, and the implications were vast. LaBerge didn't stop there. He repeated the experiment, refined it, conducted studies where lucid dreamers performed tasks, like counting or breathing, inside the dream, and signaled their progress using eye movements. What emerged was astonishing. Not only could people remain conscious while dreaming, They could perform coordinated mental actions. They could hold intention. They could keep track of time. They could choose, and those choices registered in the lab on the machines in real data. Lucid dreaming wasn't a fantasy. It was a verifiable, measurable state of consciousness. LaBerge's work sparked a revolution. Suddenly, the idea of dream awareness moved from fringe to frontier. Psychologists, neuroscientists, and sleep researchers began to explore what the lucid dreaming state could reveal, not just about dreams, but about consciousness itself. The lucid dream became a new laboratory, a place where the mind could be studied from the inside out. But Stephen LaBerge didn't just want to prove lucid dreaming was real. He wanted to make it accessible. He developed techniques to help ordinary people cultivate lucidity: dream journaling, reality checks, intention setting, and the mnemonic induction of lucid dreams, or MILD method. His books, like Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming, became guideposts for those curious to try. And for many, they worked. They woke inside their dreams. They signaled with their eyes. They remembered the stars, the flying, the conversations with dream characters. They tasted awareness in sleep and never saw their minds the same way again. LaBerge's experiments also opened doors into the emotional and psychological potential of lucid dreams. If you could remain conscious, you could face fears, rehearse challenges, seek insight. The dream became a space of healing and exploration. For some, it became a place of transformation. Nightmares lost their power when met with awareness. Trauma could be processed safely. Questions could be asked and answered. More recent research has confirmed LaBerge's findings. fMRI scans show unique brain activity during lucid dreams, heightened connectivity between regions responsible for self-awareness and executive function. In lucid states, the brain resembles a waking mind layered over a dreaming one. It's a hybrid state, conscious but still immersed in the subconscious realm, a kind of controlled hallucination, both safe and expansive. And yet, the core magic remains simple. You are asleep, yet awake. You are dreaming, yet aware. That fragile balance between surrender and intention is what makes lucid dreaming so powerful, and Stephen LaBerge gave the world the tools to find it. He once described lucid dreaming as a doorway into understanding that the mind is not limited by what we think is real. In dreams, you can face the impossible and smile. You can talk to your fears, fly past your doubts, and reshape your story from the inside out. Lucid dreaming is not just about fantasy. It's about awareness, about reclaiming the power to witness your own inner world and choose how you move through it. LaBerge's legacy is more than a set of experiments. It's a redefinition of what's possible. His work reminds us that truth isn't always found under microscopes or inside equations. Sometimes it's found in stillness, in sleep, in the quiet realization that consciousness doesn't end when the day does. It continues. It explores. And sometimes it wakes within the dream. So tonight, as you close your eyes, remember, you carry that awareness within you. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find yourself drifting into a dream, becoming aware, and remembering that strange truth Stephen LaBerge helped us all discover. You are not just a dreamer. You are the witness, the author, the explorer, and that makes your dream world limitless. Do our dreams predict the future or just reflect the past? There's something hauntingly familiar about certain dreams. You wake with the lingering sensation that what you saw hasn't happened yet, and then days or weeks later it does. The face, the place, the conversation, exactly as it unfolded in the dream. It's unsettling, curious, and strangely common. People across cultures and generations have reported it. A dream that seemed to predict reality, a vision that turned into memory. It raises the question, are dreams more than memories in disguise? Could they sometimes be windows into what hasn't yet occurred? It's tempting to believe they are. The idea that dreams can tell the future is as old as dreaming itself. In ancient Egypt, dreams were seen as messages from the gods. In Greece, Aristotle and Plato both pondered whether dreams were glimpses of fate. Native American tribes held dream catchers above their beds, not just to protect from nightmares, but to honor the sacred knowledge dreams might offer. Even in the Bible, dreams predicted famines, warned of danger, and carried divine messages. The belief that dreams could peer ahead into time was once not mystical, it was practical. Dreams were guides, oracles, maps. But is there any truth in it? Modern science says dreams are constructed from memory, emotion, and imagination. They reflect what we've seen, felt, feared, and sometimes forgotten. The brain, while asleep, sifts through experience and replays it in symbolic form. This process isn't random. It's meaning-making. We relive our past to make sense of it. We simulate possibilities to prepare for the future. It's like the brain is constantly rehearsing life, and sometimes those rehearsals look eerily similar to what ends up happening. But does similarity mean prophecy? Here's where it gets complicated. Many predictive dreams fall into what researchers call confirmation bias. We have hundreds of dreams every year. Most are forgotten. A few stick. And when one happens to resemble real events later on, we give it special weight. It feels prophetic. But what we're doing is connecting dots in hindsight. We remember the hits, not the misses. It's the same reason horoscopes feel accurate. They're broad enough to apply to many situations, and our minds are wired to fill in the rest. Still, some dream experiences are harder to dismiss. A person dreams of a specific phone call and wakes to receive it. Someone dreams of an accident, only to avoid it the next day. These moments defy simple explanation. They stir something ancient inside us, a feeling that perhaps time isn't as linear as we think, that maybe, on some level, our minds move ahead of our lives. Theories abound. One suggests that dreams are simulations, not of the future, but of possible futures. The brain, always trying to keep us safe, runs scenarios like a flight simulator for the soul. In these dreams, we're rehearsing. If one of those scenarios later unfolds, it doesn't mean we predicted the future. It means the brain accurately modeled it in advance. And sometimes our intuition fills in the rest. Another theory is rooted in Jungian psychology. Carl Jung believed in a concept called the collective unconscious, a shared layer of consciousness that connects all people. He suggested that archetypes, symbols, and even emotional truths are passed through this field. From that perspective, dreams may pick up on patterns that transcend individual experience. You might not be seeing the future, but sensing the emotional direction of things to come, like feeling the weather shift before the storm arrives. Then there's quantum speculation, the idea that time may not be as rigid as we experience it. Some physicists argue that the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, and that consciousness may not be entirely bound by linear time. If that's true, even in theory, it opens the door to strange possibilities. What if dreams are moments when the conscious mind slips beyond the now? What if time in the dream state folds in on itself? The science behind this remains speculative, but the mystery continues to inspire. Despite all this, most scientists agree, dreams primarily reflect the past. They help us process what we've seen and felt. They help us sort, file, and filter experience. But even in that process, dreams are preparing us. By rehearsing fears, hopes, and scenarios, the dreaming mind becomes a prediction machine. It doesn't tell us what will happen, but what could. And that's powerful in its own right. Because even if a dream doesn't predict the future, it prepares you emotionally for it. You may dream of losing someone, not because it will happen, but because your heart is afraid of that pain. You may dream of flying, not because you will, but because your soul craves freedom. These emotional truths often appear before we're consciously ready to feel them. In that way, dreams aren't predictive in facts, but in feeling. They bring tomorrow's emotions into tonight's awareness. There are also moments when dreams warn us, not of destiny, but of danger. A nightmare may point to a health issue, a toxic relationship, or an ignored truth. Your subconscious may notice subtle details your waking mind overlooks. A cough, a hesitation, a change in tone. The dream encodes that concern into story, into symbol, into something unforgettable. It's not magic. It's intuition magnified by sleep. So what should we make of prophetic dreams? First, respect them, not because they're necessarily supernatural, but because they are meaningful. A dream that feels predictive is a signal. It's a message worth sitting with. Write it down. Reflect on the emotion, the symbol, the scene. Ask yourself, what part of me is speaking? What am I being prepared for? Whether it's the future or the past, your subconscious is offering insight. Second, stay grounded. Dreams are rich, but they are not blueprints. They are mirrors. They show you what you're carrying, what you're fearing, what you're moving toward. Don't assume every detail is destiny. Instead, ask what the dream is inviting you to see more clearly. And finally, trust your own experience. Some dreams do feel different, vivid, resonant, charged. Whether or not they foretell events, they often reveal emotional truths you've yet to name, and sometimes that's all the prophecy you need. Because maybe the question isn't whether dreams predict the future or reflect the past. Maybe they do something more subtle, more sacred. Maybe they help us prepare for what's coming, whether it's written in time or not. Maybe they awaken a deeper knowing, a quiet nudge, a flicker of understanding we didn't know we needed. So the next time you dream something that echoes forward, don't rush to dismiss it or to prove it. Let it sit. Let it speak. And remember, dreams are not bound by clocks. They follow a different rhythm, one that whispers, not what will happen, but what you're ready to see. Why some people remember dreams in detail and others remember nothing. Every night we all slip into dreams. Strange, vivid, quiet, terrifying, comforting. A world behind closed eyes. But by morning, for some it's all gone. Just a trace, a feeling, a shadow that disappears before it can be named. Others wake with full narratives, details, faces, words, entire landscapes still glowing in memory. Some even feel like they've lived another life during the night. Why is that? Why do some people remember their dreams so vividly, while others recall nothing at all? The answer begins in the brain, but it doesn't end there. Dream recall is a complex dance between sleep cycles, brain chemistry, attention, and emotion. And while everyone dreams, every single night, no exceptions, what we remember depends on a series of subtle, interconnected factors. Let's start with sleep itself. We cycle through different stages each night: light sleep, deep sleep, and REM, rapid eye movement, where most vivid dreaming happens. REM sleep is where the brain is most active, almost as active as when we're awake. It's the stage when the mind weaves stories, replays memories, and creates surreal simulations. But just because you dream in a REM doesn't mean you'll remember it. Timing is everything. People who wake up during or right after REM are far more likely to recall their dreams. The closer the awakening is to the dream, the more intact the memory tends to be. But if you drift from REM into deep sleep or fully awaken hours later, the memory begins to decay, like mist burning off under the sun. For those who rarely wake during REM, or who wake too quickly, dream recall slips through the cracks of consciousness. There's also the role of the temporoparietal junction, a region of the brain linked to self-awareness and memory. Studies show that people with higher activity in this region tend to remember more dreams. It's the part of the brain that helps you step outside your experience and reflect on it, key for forming narrative memory. When this area is quiet, as it often is during sleep, the dream may feel intense in the moment but vanish upon waking. But brain structure alone doesn't tell the full story. Dream recall is also shaped by attention. People who are more introspective, imaginative, or attuned to their inner world tend to notice dreams more. Simply caring about dreams increases the likelihood of remembering them. When you wake and lie still, asking, "What did I dream?" you create space for memory to surface. The brain begins to search, and often it finds something, sometimes only a feeling, sometimes a scene, sometimes the whole storyline. This is why keeping a dream journal is so powerful. The act of recording your dreams tells the brain, this matters. It strengthens neural pathways related to recall. The more you write, the more you remember. Over time, vague fragments become vivid chapters. It's not about talent, it's about training. But there's another piece to consider: emotion. Emotional dreams are more likely to be remembered. Fear, joy, grief, longing. When a dream stirs deep feeling, it stamps itself more strongly into memory. A terrifying nightmare, a reunion with someone lost, a dream of falling in love. These moments echo. The limbic system, especially the amygdala, tags strong emotion as significant. So we wake not just with the image, but with the feeling still pulsing through us. Contrast this with emotionally neutral dreams, like folding laundry, walking aimlessly, or hearing faint voices. These dreams happen too, but they don't anchor as easily. They dissolve before we even notice. Our memory is selective, and often it keeps what moves us most. Sleep habits also matter. People who are sleep-deprived tend to have shorter REM cycles, limiting the time their brain spends dreaming. They're also more likely to crash into deep sleep and skip the lighter stages where recall is more likely. On the flip side, those who sleep longer and more regularly often have more extended REM phases, especially toward morning. These are prime hours for dreaming and remembering. Then there's sleep disruption. While constant interruptions can fragment sleep, brief awakenings, like stirring between cycles or waking naturally without an alarm, can actually enhance recall. These moments, if treated gently, allow you to hold onto the dream's edge before it slips away. But jolting awake to an alarm or screen breaks the bridge. The dream is still there, but the path to it vanishes. Personality plays a role too. Studies show that people high in openness, those who are curious, imaginative, and reflective, tend to report more dream recall. They're more likely to notice subtle shifts in mood, thought, and sensation. They pay attention to the inner world, and so the dream world becomes more accessible. But perhaps the most mysterious factor of all is identity. Who we believe ourselves to be, how we relate to memory, to the unconscious, to mystery, shapes how we dream and what we carry back. For some, dreams are a curiosity. For others, they are sacred. And for a few, they are forgotten, not because they didn't happen, but because they were never invited to stay. This raises a quiet question. How many dreams have you forgotten simply because you didn't ask them to stay? How many insights, memories, warnings, or moments of beauty have passed unnoticed in the night? Because the truth is, everyone dreams. Every mind, every night. We dream through joy, through fear, through grief, and through healing. Even those who swear they never dream are simply forgetting. The stage was set. The story was lived. But the curtain closed before they could take it with them. And yet, you can change that. You can wake slowly. You can linger. Before grabbing your phone or jumping out of bed, you can pause, breathe, ask, what was I just feeling? Sometimes a thread will appear, a color, a voice, a sensation. Follow it, trace it back, write it down even if it doesn't make sense, especially if it doesn't make sense. This tells the mind, I'm listening, I'm ready. Over time, the dreams begin to stay. They knock more loudly. They bring more detail. They open doors to memory, to imagination, to parts of yourself you don't always see by day, and you realize your dreams were never gone, only hidden. So why do some remember while others forget? Because one listens, and one turns away. One watches the mist, and one walks through it. And the mist always holds more than we think. The symbolism behind being trapped in a dream. There's a certain kind of dream that leaves you breathless, not because of fear or awe, but because of a slow, creeping panic. You try to run, but your legs don't move. You reach for a door, but it won't open. You tell yourself you're dreaming, but you can't wake up. You're aware, yet trapped, locked in a loop. A hallway that stretches forever. A task that never completes. A room with no exits. It's not a nightmare in the traditional sense. There's no monster, no fall, no chase. And yet, it unsettles you just the same. Because you feel stuck, and when you wake, that feeling lingers. Dreams of being trapped are some of the most emotionally powerful we experience. They pull us into a state of helplessness, of paralysis, of being caught in something that feels bigger than us. And while they vary in setting and detail, the emotional thread is always the same. A deep frustration, a fear of being unable to change, move, escape. But what do these dreams mean? Why do we have them? And why do they feel so real? At their core, trapped dreams are rarely about the physical space. They are metaphors, symbolic reflections of emotional, mental, or spiritual states. They don't mirror what's outside. They echo what's inside. The locked room, the endless hallway, the immovable feet, they represent something deeper, a part of your life where you feel stuck, cornered, or held back. And because dreams bypass our conscious filters, they speak that truth in a language that cannot be ignored. Maybe you're in a relationship that feels confining. Maybe a job drains you, but you don't know how to leave. Maybe you carry guilt or grief that hasn't been resolved. The dream builds a space around that emotion. It gives it shape. It makes it literal. You're not moving because something in you isn't moving. You're not escaping because part of you hasn't yet admitted that you want to. The dream traps you, not to torment you, but to show you where you already feel confined. Psychologically, trapped dreams often emerge during times of transition, when we feel torn between who we are and who we're becoming. The dream becomes a holding cell between identities. You're ready to change, but something is still holding on. And so the mind creates a space that reflects that pause. The looping hallway, the locked door, the task you can't finish. They are symbols of resistance, not failure, but hesitation. Sometimes, these dreams occur when we're avoiding a truth. When something in waking life feels too heavy, too complicated, or too painful to face. The conscious mind turns away, but the subconscious does not. The dream becomes a message. Something here needs your attention. It creates discomfort to draw focus, to stir emotion, to ask where in your life are you not listening. Other times, the dream isn't about life's outer circumstances, but about inner ones. Being trapped can symbolize being stuck in a pattern, a thought loop, a belief that no longer serves you. The room that shrinks may reflect anxiety. The endless hallway might echo burnout. The inability to move may mirror depression. These symbols aren't flaws, they're invitations. They're saying, this is where you are. Let's understand why. Lucid dreamers sometimes use these moments to awaken. When a dream becomes repetitive or impossibly restrictive, it triggers awareness. You realize this isn't real. And that realization shifts everything. The locked door opens. The hallway ends. The body begins to move. This transformation echoes a deeper truth. Once you bring awareness to where you're stuck, you begin to free yourself. In waking life, too, acknowledgement is the first step toward change. From a neuroscientific standpoint, trapped dreams can also be linked to sleep paralysis or disrupted REM cycles. If the body is immobilized while the mind is semi-aware, the sensation of being trapped can arise. But even then, the brain often fills that space with metaphor. It doesn't just give you the feeling, it gives you a story, a setting, a symbol. That story always comes from somewhere. Some trapped dreams are not nightmares, but liminal spaces, transitional zones between waking and dreaming. In these, the feeling isn't panic, but slowness, fog, confusion. You may know you're dreaming, but still feel like you can't wake up. These dreams reflect emotional exhaustion, a soul that needs pause, a body that needs rest. You're not being punished. You're being slowed down, asked to feel something fully before moving on. Cultural interpretations also add layers. In some traditions, being trapped in a dream is viewed as a kind of spiritual message, a warning to re-examine your path. In others, it's seen as an energetic blockage, a sign that something within you, creatively, emotionally, or spiritually, is being restricted. And while the symbols differ, the message is remarkably similar. Listen to the place inside you that feels confined. It holds a truth you haven't yet faced. So what can you do when you wake from a dream like this? Start by sitting with the feeling. Don't rush to forget it. Ask what part of your life the dream might be speaking to. Is there a choice you're avoiding? A conversation you need to have? A part of yourself you've neglected? Write down the dream, its images, its emotions, its tone, even the fragments. Sometimes just naming the feeling starts to open the door. Then look for patterns. Have you had similar dreams before? Do certain locations repeat? Do you always feel powerless? Or is there a moment where something shifts? Often, trapped dreams evolve as we evolve. The room may stay the same, but how you feel inside it changes. That change is progress. It means you're beginning to listen. And if you want to explore deeper, you can work with the dream while awake. Close your eyes. Visualize the dream again. Walk back into the space, but this time bring awareness. Ask the dream a question. Touch the wall. Turn around. Notice what happens. Sometimes doing this in meditation reveals insights the dream alone couldn't show you. Because the truth is, no one is ever fully trapped in a dream. Even when it feels that way, the key is already in your hand. Awareness is the key. Curiosity is the key. Compassion is the key. And the dream, however unsettling, is just a mirror. It shows you not where you're failing, but where you're ready to grow. So the next time you find yourself trapped in a dream, don't panic. Pause. Breathe. Ask what it's trying to show you. There is always a message. And often, the message is this: You're ready to move. From the periodic table to DNA, dreams that changed history. Sometimes, a dream is just a dream. A flicker of thought, a swirl of memories, a wandering narrative with no beginning or end. But every so often, a dream becomes more than that. It becomes an insight, a breakthrough, a turning point. And in rare, remarkable cases, it becomes a key that unlocks a mystery the waking mind could not solve. Some of the most extraordinary discoveries in human history weren't made in labs or libraries, but in sleep. From the periodic table to the structure of DNA, from symphonies to scientific revolutions, dreams have changed the course of history. Take Dmitri Mendeleev, for example, the father of the periodic table. For years, he struggled to find order in the elements. He knew there was a pattern. He sensed an underlying structure. But no matter how he arranged the elements, by weight, by property, by behavior, something always felt off. Then, one night, exhausted and overwhelmed, Mendeleev fell asleep at his desk, and in his dream, the elements arranged themselves. Not randomly, but in rows and columns. They grouped together in families, revealing relationships he hadn't yet named. When he awoke, the vision was still vivid. He wrote it down, and the modern periodic table was born. This wasn't luck. It was the subconscious mind doing what it does best, making connections the waking mind overlooks. In dreams, logic loosens. Boundaries blur. Ideas float freely, combining in strange, unexpected ways. The brain keeps working while we rest. It explores the depths of memory, of intuition, of creative insight. And in those depths, it sometimes finds things we couldn't see in daylight. Another famous dreamer, Friedrich August Kekulé, the chemist who discovered the ring structure of benzene. For years, the molecule's shape defied explanation. Then, one night, Kekulé dreamed of atoms dancing, twisting and turning like snakes. One snake in particular seized his attention. It curled back and bit its own tail. He woke with a jolt and realized the structure was circular, a closed loop, a chemical puzzle solved by the image of a serpent in sleep. Then there's Elias Howe, the inventor of the modern sewing machine. He was stuck on one problem: how to get the needle to work at high speed without snagging the thread. In his dream, he was captured by warriors with spears. Each spear had a hole in its tip. When he awoke, the answer was clear. Move the needle's eye to the point. He did, and the sewing machine finally worked. But perhaps the most profound scientific dream came from James Watson. He and Francis Crick were racing to discover the structure of DNA. Others were close. Competing theories swirled. Then Watson had a dream of two intertwined serpents, spirals coiled around each other. It wasn't the full double helix, but it was the seed. That image became the foundation for a discovery that would redefine biology, the code of life itself, glimpsed first in the quiet of sleep. It's not just science. Dreams have inspired art, literature, and music for centuries. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein came to her in a dream. A scientist, a creature, a horror born of ambition. Paul McCartney dreamed the melody of yesterday and woke humming it. Salvador Dali used dreams not as inspiration, but as raw material. He painted what he saw in sleep: melting clocks, impossible landscapes, haunting, surreal figures. His art blurred the line between reality and the unconscious. Even Descartes, the father of rationalism, credited a series of vivid dreams with shaping his philosophical vision. In those dreams, he believed he received a mission to rebuild knowledge from the ground up. His meditations on doubt, on self, on existence, I think, therefore I am, began in sleep. But why does this happen? Why is sleep such fertile ground for genius? The answer lies in how the brain shifts gears. During wakefulness, the prefrontal cortex dominates. It's the part of the brain responsible for logic, order, and decision-making. It filters thoughts. It keeps ideas in line. But during REM sleep, that filter relaxes. The brain lights up in different areas: emotional centers, memory networks, sensory systems. Thoughts flow more freely. Connections form between things that, in waking life, would never meet. This is what creativity is: new combinations. And in dreams, we make them constantly. It's also during sleep that the brain consolidates memory, replaying events, organizing knowledge, strengthening patterns. This isn't just filing, it's synthesizing, It's noticing what fits with what. That's why a dream can suddenly connect a detail you noticed days ago with a question you forgot you were asking. The mind, unburdened by conscious pressure, quietly puts the pieces together. And yet, this process isn't always obvious. Many dream-inspired breakthroughs feel random, but they're not. They come from minds deeply immersed in a question, a problem, a mystery. The dream is just the final spark after the subconscious has been working behind the scenes. So how do we tap into this? How do we use our dreams not just to rest, but to create? First, pay attention. Keep a dream journal by your bed. Write down anything you remember, no matter how small. A word, a color, a fragment of a sentence. Over time, your recall improves. Patterns emerge, and sometimes hidden insights rise to the surface. Second, pose a question before sleep. It can be small or complex. How can I solve this? What am I missing? What's the next step? The subconscious listens. It may not answer right away, but it starts turning the question over quietly, patiently beneath awareness. Third, welcome the strange. Dreams speak in symbols, not equations. In images, not arguments. Let the dream show you something unfamiliar. Don't rush to decode it. Sit with it. Sometimes what seems nonsensical holds a truth you haven't yet named. And finally, rest deeply. Creativity doesn't come from exhaustion. It comes from restoration. The mind, like the body, needs time to process, to imagine, to repair. In sleep, you do more than recover. You reconnect with yourself, with the world, with ideas that may not yet exist. So the next time you dismiss a dream as meaningless, remember this: entire scientific revolutions have emerged from the night. Equations, inventions, visions, not conjured through logic, but offered in silence. Some of humanity's most powerful discoveries began not with waking thought, but with a whisper in the dark. Because the dream world is not separate from life. It is its foundation, its mirror, its laboratory. It is where the seeds of history are sometimes planted. And all it asks is that we listen. How anxiety and trauma rewrite the stories in your dreams. Not all dreams are peaceful. Some feel like echoes, others like storms. Some dreams come softly, wrapped in strange beauty, but others come with weight, with shadows, with stories that feel too familiar. These are the dreams shaped by anxiety and trauma. Not random, not meaningless, but rewritten scripts that mirror what we carry inside. They are the mind's quiet way of showing us what has not yet healed. In the world of sleep, the conscious mind retreats. Our defenses lower. Emotions, memories, fears, everything we hold beneath the surface rises. And in this space, the stories we dream begin to change. They bend under pressure. They replay events. They twist feelings into symbols. When you're anxious, your dreams don't let go of that tension. They hold it. They weave it into every corner of the night. Anxiety often reveals itself through repetition. Recurring dreams, tasks you can't finish, places you can't leave. You might dream of being late, of losing your voice, of searching for something just out of reach. These aren't accidents. They are metaphors. When your waking life feels out of control, the dream gives that fear a face. It doesn't invent the feeling. It reflects it. You may notice the tone of these dreams. They're not always violent, but they are restless. Something is always wrong. Something always feels unfinished. These dreams wake you early, or leave you tired, or sit with you the next day like fog. This is how anxiety works. It whispers, it loops, and in dreams it becomes landscape. Trauma, on the other hand, often shapes dreams more deeply. It doesn't just alter tone, it alters structure. The brain processes trauma differently. It stores it in fragments, in flashes, in pieces that don't always fit together. When you sleep, the mind tries to make sense of those pieces, and in doing so, it creates dreams that are vivid, intense, and often confusing. Some trauma dreams are direct. You relive the event, a memory replayed with terrifying clarity. Others are symbolic. You dream of drowning, of being chased, of rooms that collapse. You don't see the trauma, but you feel it. And sometimes the most unsettling dreams are the quietest ones. Dreams where someone you lost returns. Dreams where nothing happens, but the air is heavy. Because trauma doesn't always shout. It lingers. The brain's limbic system, particularly the amygdala, is highly active during sleep. This is the emotional center. It's the part of the brain that lights up when we feel fear, sadness, or threat. In trauma survivors, the amygdala becomes hyperactive. Even in sleep, it stays alert. It doesn't always recognize that the danger has passed. And so the dreams remain intense. They feel real. Because in a way, the brain still believes they are. But here's something important. These dreams are not a sign of weakness. They are a sign that your mind is trying to heal. Dreaming is the brain's way of working through pain, sorting it, making meaning, reclaiming control. When the waking mind can't find words, the dreaming mind builds symbols. And in those symbols, healing begins. Still, it isn't always easy. Nightmares can be exhausting. You may begin to dread sleep. You may wake up sweating, disoriented, afraid. You may feel like the trauma is happening all over again. This is common and real and deeply human, but it can also be addressed. One tool is imagery rehearsal therapy. This is a technique where you recall the nightmare but rewrite the ending. While awake, you change the story. You imagine escaping, finding safety, being helped. Over time, the brain begins to adopt this new version. The dream softens, the script shifts, and the fear begins to fade. Another tool is lucid dreaming. When you become aware that you are dreaming, you can begin to interact with the dream consciously. You can ask questions. You can confront fears. You can remind yourself, this isn't real. And even that one sentence, this isn't real, can transform how trauma shows up in sleep. But even without tools, there's power in simply observing, writing down your dreams, noticing patterns, asking what they might be trying to show you. You don't need to decode every symbol. You just need to listen, to treat the dream with care, with curiosity, with compassion, because the dream isn't your enemy. It's your mirror. And sometimes it reflects the parts of us we're still learning to hold. It's also worth noting your dreams will change as you change. As you heal, the stories shift. The monster becomes smaller. The hallway opens. The voice returns. These changes may be subtle, but they're signs. They mean your mind is rewriting the story, not just in sleep, but in waking life, too. Sleep is not the absence of awareness. It is another kind of awareness, one that moves beneath the surface. And dreams are how that awareness speaks. Sometimes softly, sometimes urgently, always honestly. They are the messages we send ourselves when the noise of the world goes quiet. So if your dreams are shaped by anxiety or trauma, know this: you are not broken. You are remembering, rebuilding, reclaiming. And every night your mind is trying to help you find your way home. You are not alone in this. Millions dream the same fears, carry the same wounds, wake with the same questions. And over time, those dreams soften. They become gentler, brighter, more whole. The mind, when given time and safety, knows how to heal. And in that healing, your dreams will one day change, not because you've forgotten the pain, but because you've survived it. The shocking truth about sleepwalking and the sleeping brain. It's one of the strangest phenomena in all of sleep science. A person rises from bed, eyes open but unfocused, body moving but unaware. They walk, they talk, they open doors. Sometimes they cook. Sometimes they leave the house. And yet they're not awake. Their mind is still deep in sleep. This is sleepwalking, a state that exists between worlds. Not quite waking, not quite dreaming. A mystery that has puzzled doctors, scientists, and philosophers for centuries. Because the truth is, sleepwalking reveals something profoundly unusual about how the brain works when we think it's at rest. Sleepwalking belongs to a group of disorders known as parasomnias, disruptions that occur during the transition between sleep stages. Most people assume sleep is binary, you're either asleep or you're not. But the brain doesn't work that way. It cycles through stages. And during slow wave sleep, the deepest, most restorative phase, something strange can happen. The brain's motor regions can activate, while the areas responsible for reasoning and memory remain offline. The result, a body that moves without conscious control. A brain half awake, half asleep, a person walking with no memory of doing so. This isn't rare. It's estimated that up to 15% of children experience sleepwalking at some point, and around 4% of adults do as well. For some, It's harmless. They shuffle around the bedroom and return to bed within minutes. But for others, it can be dangerous. They may fall downstairs, walk into traffic, open windows. Some even attempt to drive. And because the mind isn't fully conscious, they're not aware of the risks. They're not dreaming, but they're not deciding either. Sleepwalking raises a powerful question: who's in control when we sleep? If the mind can guide the body without awareness, what else happens in the shadows of consciousness? Some researchers believe sleepwalking is a glitch in the system, a failed switch between brain states. But others see it as evidence that our brain can divide itself, that it can allow one part to sleep while another part takes over. The idea is both fascinating and unsettling. Consider this: during sleepwalking, people often perform familiar routine behaviors. They go to the bathroom, they get dressed, they follow habits ingrained through repetition. It's as if the brain accesses stored patterns without needing conscious input, like muscle memory in motion. This suggests that part of us keeps functioning even in deep sleep, not thinking, just doing. And that raises another question: how much of our waking life is driven by patterns we don't fully notice? Sleepwalking isn't limited to quiet, slow movements. There are cases of sleep aggression where the person lashes out, striking furniture or even other people. Again, the sleeper has no memory, no intention, just a body responding to a world it doesn't fully understand. In legal cases, this leads to complex debates. Can someone be held responsible for what they do while sleepwalking? Courts have ruled both ways, but science leans toward compassion. The sleepwalker is not aware, and therefore not truly in control. One of the most chilling aspects of sleepwalking is sleep terrors, episodes where a person bolts upright, screaming, eyes wide, heart racing. They may appear awake, but cannot be consoled. They don't respond. The episode passes, and in the morning, they remember nothing. This is different from nightmares. Nightmares occur during REM sleep, when dreams are vivid and the brain is active. Sleep terrors happen during non-REM sleep, when the brain should be quiet. But for reasons we still don't fully understand, it erupts. Some experts believe sleepwalking is more likely in people who are sleep-deprived, stressed, or genetically predisposed. It runs in families. It's more common in children, whose sleep cycles are still developing, and it often decreases with age. But for some adults, it persists, and in rare cases it becomes chronic. That's when it turns from a quirk into a condition, one that requires safety precautions, and sometimes medical treatment. Managing sleepwalking starts with protection, making sure the environment is safe, locking doors, installing alarms, removing sharp objects. In some cases, medications like benzodiazepines are prescribed to reduce episodes. But often, the most effective treatment is improving sleep hygiene, creating consistent bedtime routines, managing stress, avoiding alcohol and caffeine, because the more stable your sleep, the less likely the brain is to misfire. Still, the mystery remains. Why does the brain allow the body to move when consciousness is offline? Why do only some people experience it? And what does it tell us about the hidden architecture of the mind? One theory suggests sleepwalking is a relic of evolution. In ancient times, staying still during sleep might have been dangerous. Movement, even unconscious, could have offered some survival advantage, escaping predators, adjusting position, responding to threats. Over time, as humans evolved, most of us lost this trait. But in some, it remains, an ancient reflex bubbling up through layers of sleep. Another theory draws from neuroscience. The thalamus, a key brain structure, acts as a gatekeeper between sensory input and consciousness. During deep sleep, it typically blocks signals that would trigger movement. But in sleepwalkers, this filter may fail. The result: the motor cortex activates without restraint, a body on autopilot, a dreamless march through the night. And then there's the question of memory. Most sleepwalkers remember nothing, because memory formation requires conscious awareness, and during sleepwalking, the prefrontal cortex is shut down. The brain isn't recording, it's just reacting. That's why sleepwalking feels so uncanny. It leaves no narrative, no image, just a strange sense that something happened without your permission. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of sleepwalking is what it reveals about sleep itself. We tend to think of sleep as passive, a time of stillness, a shutting down. But sleep is anything but simple. It is dynamic. It is layered. And in those layers, strange things happen. The body moves. The mind splits. The boundaries between states blur. And in that blur, we glimpse the strange autonomy of the unconscious. So the next time you hear about someone sleepwalking, or wake to find yourself in an unfamiliar part of your home, remember this: you are witnessing a dance between brain states, a moment where instinct rises above awareness, where habit overrides intention, where the line between waking and dreaming bends. Sleepwalking is not just a disorder. It's a doorway, a glimpse into the silent engine that runs beneath your thoughts. And through it, we learn that consciousness is not a single switch, but a spectrum, a shifting tide, a twilight of awareness where the brain writes its own story, sometimes without you even knowing. What happens to the brain during hypnagogic jerks? You're lying in bed. The world is quiet. Your eyes are closed. Your breath slows. Sleep begins to wrap around you like a gentle fog. Then suddenly your body jolts. A leg kicks. An arm twitches. Your heart jumps. You feel like you're falling. And just like that, you're awake again, disoriented, startled, and wondering what just happened. This sudden twitch is called a hypnagogic jerk, a mysterious, involuntary spasm that occurs as you drift into sleep. And while it may feel like a glitch, it's far more complex. Because in that small moment, something profound is happening in the brain. Hypnagogic jerks, also known as sleep starts, happen during the first stage of sleep, called the hypnagogic state. This is the liminal space between wakefulness and slumber, when your brain begins to release its grip on the external world. Muscles relax. Conscious thought fades. You are no longer fully awake, but not yet fully asleep. In this in-between, strange things occur. Flickering images, echoes of thoughts, and sometimes a sudden burst of activity that shoots through the nervous system like a spark. The feeling is unmistakable. A lurch in your stomach, a sense of falling, a kick of the leg, a snap of the shoulders. Some people experience it as a physical twitch, others as a vivid dream fragment, a trip, a misstep, a sensation of plummeting through air. And often, it's enough to pull you out of sleep. For a moment, your heart races, your breath quickens. Then it passes, and the quiet returns. But why does this happen? What causes the brain, so close to rest, to send this sudden signal? One explanation lies in the body's natural process of muscle relaxation. As you fall asleep, your muscles gradually lose tone. They become slack, heavy, still. To the brain, especially in moments of stress or fatigue, this can be misinterpreted. The sudden drop in muscle activity might be read as a sign of falling. And in response, the brain sends a signal to jerk awake, to catch yourself, to regain control. It's a reflex, an ancient safety mechanism. This theory is called the primitive reflex hypothesis. It suggests that hypnagogic jerks are evolutionary leftovers. In early humans, relaxing too deeply in the wrong place, like a tree branch, could lead to falling. So, when the brain detected a sudden drop in tension, it sent a quick jolt to reawaken the muscles and alert the body. Over time, the need for this reflex diminished, but the circuitry remained. And even today, it fires under the right conditions. Another layer to this mystery involves the reticular activating system, a network in the brainstem that helps regulate sleep and arousal. As you begin to fall asleep, this system slows down, but it doesn't always do so evenly. Parts of the brain may begin to shut down at different rates. The body relaxes, but the mind may still be partially alert, and in that state of uneven transition, miscommunication can occur. One part of the brain thinks you're asleep. Another isn't so sure. The result: a sudden jolt. Stress and sleep deprivation make hypnagogic jerks more likely. When your nervous system is on edge, when you're anxious, overtired, or mentally overloaded, the boundary between wakefulness and sleep becomes unstable. The brain is jumpier. It reacts more dramatically to minor changes. So as the body begins to power down, the mind, still wired and alert, sends a final signal, an overreaction to the quiet that's settling in. Some researchers believe hypnagogic jerks are linked to microdreaming. These are the earliest dreamlike thoughts that occur as you fall asleep, often fleeting, often strange. In this state, the mind can produce vivid, physical imagery, a feeling of tripping, slipping, or falling, and in response, the body flinches. The dream triggers the jerk. The two are intertwined. Thought becomes motion. Sleep and wakefulness briefly overlap. For most people, hypnagogic jerks are harmless. A brief interruption, a minor annoyance, but in some cases they become frequent, disruptive, or intense enough to cause insomnia. These cases are rare, but they show how sensitive the brain-body connection is during sleep's transition. What's meant to be a gentle fade into rest becomes a cycle of jolts and wake-ups. Still, there's something beautiful about this moment. The hypnagogic state is one of the most creative, mysterious periods of consciousness. Artists, poets, and inventors have all drawn from its surreal qualities. Thomas Edison and Salvador Dali both used it intentionally. They'd hold an object in their hand while drifting off, only to drop it as the jerk came. This snapped them awake in the middle of strange, imaginative thoughts. They'd then record what they saw, because in that borderland between waking and sleep, the mind is free. It explores without constraint. It blurs logic and fantasy. And for a few moments, it shows us what lies beneath awareness. It's also worth noting that not everyone experiences hypnagogic jerks the same way. Some people feel them rarely, others nightly. Some are startled by them, others don't notice. They can change with age, stress levels, caffeine intake, or even room temperature. They remind us that sleep is personal, a ritual of the body and mind deeply sensitive to mood, environment, and emotion. So what can you do if hypnagogic jerks are disturbing your sleep? Start by creating a calming bedtime routine. Avoid stimulants late in the day, like coffee or energy drinks. Reduce screen time before bed. Practice slow breathing. And most importantly, give your mind space to slow down, because the jerk is often the body's response to too much tension, too quickly released. If you ease into sleep gently, the need for that jolt may fade. Some find relief through mindfulness, lying still, noticing each breath, allowing thoughts to pass without grasping. This helps the nervous system settle. Others benefit from weighted blankets, which can provide a sense of groundedness. That slight pressure reassures the body it's safe. It doesn't need to leap back into action. If the jerks are frequent and severe, a sleep specialist may recommend tests to rule out more complex sleep disorders like myoclonus or restless leg syndrome. But again, for most, it's a common, benign experience. Strange, yes, but not dangerous. In the end, the hypnagogic jerk is a reminder that even sleep, something we take for granted, is a carefully choreographed process. A symphony of chemical signals, brain waves, and muscle responses. One misfire, and we jolt awake. One flicker of fear, and we feel like we're falling. But maybe there's meaning in that fall. Maybe it's the last gesture of waking life, a goodbye from the body before it surrenders to sleep, a blink between two worlds, a signal that you are still here, still grounded, still whole, even as you drift into the vast, mysterious sea of dreams. Your bedroom lighting could be destroying your sleep cycles. The bedroom is supposed to be a sanctuary, a place of quiet retreat, a space where the mind can let go and the body can rest. But in the modern world, our sanctuaries have been quietly invaded, not by noise, not by stress, but by light. Glowing screens, LED alarm clocks, street lamps filtering through curtains. All these tiny intrusions seem harmless until you realize how deeply they affect your sleep. Because light doesn't just brighten a room, it speaks to the brain, and it can destroy your natural sleep cycle without you even noticing. Your body runs on rhythm. This rhythm, called the circadian rhythm, is a 24-hour cycle that governs everything from hormone release to body temperature to the urge to sleep. And the master conductor of this rhythm is light. When your eyes sense light, a signal is sent to the brain's suprachiasmatic nucleus, a small cluster of cells deep in the hypothalamus. This is your internal clock, and it listens to light like music. Daylight means wake up, darkness means rest. But when artificial light enters the picture, that symphony is disrupted. One of the biggest culprits is blue light, emitted by phones, tablets, computers, and LED bulbs. Blue light has a powerful effect on the brain. It suppresses melatonin, the hormone that tells your body it's time to sleep. In nature, blue light comes from the sun. It's strongest during the day and almost absent at night. But when we expose ourselves to blue light after dark, the brain gets confused. It thinks it's still daytime. It delays melatonin, and as a result, sleep comes later, or not at all. This delay doesn't just affect when you fall asleep. It changes the quality of your sleep. Even small amounts of artificial light at night can reduce time spent in deep sleep and REM sleep, the most restorative phases. You may sleep for 8 hours, but wake up feeling tired, unfocused, and moody. Over time, disrupted sleep cycles can lead to more than grogginess. They've been linked to weakened immunity, weight gain, depression, and even higher risks of chronic diseases. Light also affects timing. Let's say you fall asleep with a bedside lamp on. Your melatonin release is delayed. Your REM sleep gets pushed to later in the night. But if you need to wake up early, you may miss most of that REM phase entirely. Night after night, this deficit adds up. And because you're not fully conscious of it, you don't always know why you're feeling off. You just sense something isn't right. What's even more surprising is how little light it takes to make an impact. Studies have shown that even dim light, like the glow from a digital clock, can shift your circadian rhythm. One study found that exposure to just 8 lux of light, less than the brightness of a nightlight, was enough to suppress melatonin and delay sleep onset. Another study linked bedroom light exposure to higher blood sugar levels the next morning, even in healthy adults. The source of light matters too. Overhead lights tend to have a greater effect than softer, directional lights. Lights with a cool, bluish hue are more disruptive than warm amber ones. That's because our ancestors evolved to associate warm firelight with nighttime safety and blue light with the alertness of dawn. Your brain still listens to these cues, even if you're unaware of it. Light isn't just external, it's internal too. The light that reaches your eyes affects your mood, your hunger hormones, even your perception of time. Bright lights at night can increase cortisol, the stress hormone, and suppress leptin, which tells your brain you're full. This means that exposure to late-night lighting may increase both stress and nighttime cravings, a perfect storm for sleeplessness and fatigue. So, how do we reclaim the bedroom? How do we restore it as a place of rest and rhythm? Start with darkness. True darkness. Block light at the source. Use blackout curtains. Unplug unnecessary electronics. Cover LED displays. Replace bright overhead lights with low-wattage lamps. And if you need light for safety, choose motion sensor night lights with a red or amber hue. These are the least disruptive. Next, set a light curfew. 2 hours before bed, begin dimming your environment. Turn off screens. Use candlelight or soft lamps. Let your body feel the shift. Give your brain time to wind down. If you must use a device, install a blue light filter or wear amber-tinted glasses. These tools don't eliminate the risk, but they reduce the intensity. Also, synchronize your exposure to natural light. In the morning, seek out sunlight. Open the blinds. Step outside. Even 10 minutes of morning light can reset your internal clock and improve sleep later that night. Your circadian rhythm doesn't just rely on avoiding light at night. It needs strong cues during the day to stay on track. Consistency matters. Try to sleep and wake at the same time every day, even on weekends. Your body thrives on patterns. Irregular sleep schedules can confuse your rhythm just as much as artificial light. When the timing of sleep changes, the brain struggles to predict when to release melatonin. You become misaligned, out of step with your own biology. Technology can help or hinder. Smart bulbs, for example, can be programmed to shift from cool white during the day to warm tones at night. Sleep tracking apps can alert you when it's time to unplug. But at the core, this is about awareness. About noticing how your environment shapes your inner state, about reclaiming control from the invisible cues that steal your rest. Think of your bedroom not just as a place, but as a signal. Every sound, every scent, every flicker of light is a message to the brain. And over time, those messages become patterns. They shape when you sleep, how deeply you rest, how clearly you think. You can't always eliminate stress, but you can shape the space around your sleep. And it matters. Because sleep is not passive. It is a powerful form of restoration, a place where your body repairs, your memory consolidates, your emotions settle. And light, soft, warm, and sparse, can become a guardian of that space, just as harsh, cold, and constant light can become a thief. So tonight, try something different. Turn off what you don't need, dim what you must. Let darkness do what it has always done, guide you home, not into silence, but into rhythm, into cycles written into your DNA, into rest that feels like safety, into sleep that feels like sleep again. Can you actually train yourself to lucid dream every night? Imagine drifting into a dream. The scenery forms around you, a forest, a street, a memory. But something shifts, you stop walking. You look at your hands. You realize, with strange clarity, this is a dream. And with that, the dream becomes yours. You can shape it, fly through it, talk to people who don't exist, explore impossible places. This is lucid dreaming, the art of becoming conscious within the dream world. And for some, it's not a rare miracle. It's a practice, a trainable skill, a doorway they learn to open every single night. The question isn't just whether lucid dreaming is real. It's well documented by science. The deeper question is, can it be learned? Can you, with the right techniques and consistency, train your brain to become aware while dreaming? The answer for many is yes, but it's not automatic. It takes time, intention, and above all, patience. Because lucid dreaming doesn't come from forcing the mind, it comes from listening to it. Lucid dreaming happens during a REM sleep, the phase when dreams are most vivid and active. In most dreams, we accept the surreal as normal. A purple sky, a talking dog, a sudden jump in time. But in a lucid dream, a spark of awareness interrupts the flow. The dreamer questions their reality, and in that moment of reflection, consciousness re-enters the scene. It's not about waking up, it's about waking within. Training yourself to lucid dream starts with the most important foundation, dream recall. You cannot control your dreams if you can't remember them. So, begin by keeping a dream journal. Place it beside your bed. The moment you wake, before you move, write down anything you remember, a feeling, a word, a fragment of a scene. At first, it might be scattered, but over time, your recall improves. You train your brain to notice the dream world. You begin to develop familiarity with its texture, its tone, its strange logic. Once you remember your dreams consistently, you can begin the next step, reality checks. These are small, intentional habits you build during the day, like counting your fingers, looking at a clock, or asking, "Am I dreaming?" These seem simple, even silly, but they condition your mind to question reality. And when this habit carries over into your dreams, the same question can trigger lucidity. You count your fingers, and they don't add up. You glance at a clock, and it melts into symbols. And suddenly you realize this isn't waking life. Another powerful tool is mild, the mnemonic induction of lucid dreams. As you fall asleep, repeat a phrase in your mind. Next time I'm dreaming, I'll remember I'm dreaming. Say it slowly, gently, like a lullaby. Picture yourself becoming lucid. Feel the moment of realization. This repetition sets an intention. It plants a seed in your subconscious that may bloom later that night. For those who wake up briefly in the night, the wet method, wake back to bed, can be especially effective. You set an alarm for 5 or 6 hours after falling asleep. When you wake, stay up for 10 to 20 minutes. Read about lucid dreaming. Recall your last dream. Then return to sleep with a clear intention. Because your REM cycles are longer and more vivid in the early morning, this technique increases the odds of becoming lucid. There's also wild, the wake-induced lucid dream. This technique involves remaining conscious as your body falls asleep. It's more advanced. You lie still, eyes closed, and observe the transition into sleep. You may experience hypnagogic imagery, colors, patterns, sounds. If you remain relaxed and observant, you can slip directly into a dream with full awareness. It's like stepping into another world without losing your footing in this one. But all of these techniques require more than practice. They require mindfulness. The more aware you are during the day, the more likely you are to become aware at night. Lucid dreaming isn't just a nighttime activity. It's a reflection of your daily consciousness. When you slow down, when you notice details, when you question assumptions, you train the mind to be present, and presence is the key to lucidity. Sleep hygiene also plays a role. A chaotic sleep schedule, caffeine before bed, or a cluttered mind can all interfere with your ability to dream clearly. Lucid dreaming thrives on rhythm, on peace, on a brain that is rested, not restless. So build a bedtime ritual. Dim the lights. Power down your devices. Let the world fade slowly. And as your body drifts into rest, let your mind hold a quiet intention. I will notice. I will remember. I will awaken in the dream. It's important to be patient. Many people try for days, even weeks, without results. That's normal. The dream world is subtle. It doesn't respond to demands. But if you stay curious, if you stay playful, it will begin to open. You'll catch moments of lucidity. A single scene, a floating sensation, a conversation with a dream figure where you suddenly think, this isn't real, and yet it is. And once you've had your first lucid dream, it changes everything. You realize that reality is flexible, that the mind holds infinite landscapes, that sleep is not an escape, it's an exploration. Lucid dreaming isn't just for entertainment. It can be therapeutic. Some use it to face fears, to revisit memories, to speak to parts of themselves that remain hidden in waking life. Others use it creatively, to compose music, write stories, solve problems. The dream world becomes a canvas, and the mind becomes the artist. And yes, some chase the thrill, flying, breathing underwater, bending time. But even these moments hold deeper meaning because they remind us of our potential, of how powerful we truly are when we become aware of the world we're in, even if that world is made of dreams. There are risks too. Sometimes lucidity becomes too intense. You may wake up suddenly, or you may experience sleep paralysis, a state where the body remains still while the mind is awake. But with understanding and grounding, these moments become manageable. You learn to observe without fear. You learn that the dream, no matter how strange, cannot harm you. In the end, lucid dreaming is a practice of awareness, a form of inner travel. It's not about control, it's about communion with your subconscious, with your stories, with the symbols your mind writes each night while you sleep. And with each dream, you learn more about yourself. So yes, you can train yourself to lucid dream every night, but the path is not mechanical. It's not about tricks. It's about relationship with your sleep, with your awareness, with the silent landscapes inside your mind. Tonight, when you lie down, let that awareness stay with you. Ask yourself gently, could I be dreaming? And maybe, just maybe, you'll hear the answer echo back from within the dream itself. Dreams are a portal to the subconscious. Here's what yours are saying. Each night, when the world fades and your eyes close, you step across a threshold, not outward but inward. A doorway opens, one that bypasses logic, time, and the rules of waking life. You drift into dreams. And while they may seem strange, disconnected, or surreal, they are not random. They are messages, symbols, stories whispered by the subconscious, the part of your mind that never sleeps. Dreams are not just images. They are reflections of your inner world, shaped by emotion, memory, desire, and fear. And if you learn to listen, they speak in a language more ancient and more personal than words. The subconscious is vast. It stores every moment you've ever lived, every face you've seen, every feeling you've buried. It processes what the conscious mind cannot handle all at once: grief, guilt, confusion, and longing. And in dreams, it releases these things not as facts, but as metaphors. A broken elevator, a dark hallway, a familiar voice from childhood. These aren't just scenes, they're signals. The subconscious doesn't explain. It shows. It paints. It plays out your truths in code. This is why dreams feel so strange. They're not meant to be literal. They're symbolic. You might dream of being chased, not because you're in danger, but because you're avoiding something in your waking life. You might dream of water flooding a house, not because of weather, but because your emotions are overwhelming you. The subconscious thinks in feeling, and dreams are the maps it draws to help you navigate. Think about how many dreams you've had where something is off. The phone won't work. The car won't start. The hallway stretches endlessly. These are common because they reflect states of inner tension, frustration, uncertainty, transition. The brain isn't trying to confuse you, it's mirroring your emotional climate. It's replaying unspoken fears, unprocessed conflicts, unresolved needs. And in doing so, it's trying to guide you toward clarity. Sometimes dreams are repetitive. You may have the same dream again and again, different setting, same theme. This is no accident. It's the subconscious insisting, look at this. Until the lesson is absorbed, the dream repeats. Not to torment you, but to teach you, to help you heal, to help you remember something you've forgotten or confront something you've ignored. The characters in your dreams are also fragments of you. You might dream of a stranger arguing with you, or a parent comforting you, or a younger version of yourself watching from a distance. These dream figures are often not who they appear to be. They are aspects of your psyche. The angry voice may be your inner critic. The child may be a forgotten need for safety. The parent may represent your own longing for care. Dreams gather your inner voices, give them faces, and let them speak. Carl Jung believed that dreams were not meaningless. In fact, he believed they held the key to individuation, the process of becoming whole. He called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. And he taught that symbols appearing in dreams, the shadow, the anima, the wise old man, are archetypes, deep patterns of the human mind, shared across cultures and time. When these symbols appear, they're not just personal, they're universal. They remind you that your story is part of something much older, something collective. But your dreams are not only shaped by the deep unconscious, they are also shaped by your recent days. The brain blends fragments, what you saw on a screen, what you heard in passing, what you felt but didn't speak. These fragments become the fabric of dreams. This is why dream analysis is not about decoding a single meaning. It's about connecting dots, feeling into symbols, asking, what does this image mean to me? Take flying, for example. For some, it means freedom. For others, it's a fear of falling, or an urge to escape. The meaning depends on the dreamer's state of mind. Dreams don't hand you answers. They offer mirrors. And sometimes the reflection is not what you expected to see. The dream world also reflects your emotional temperature. If you're anxious, dreams may become chaotic. If you're depressed, they may be slow or gray. If you're healing, you may dream of water, rebirth, transformation. Some people dream of homes they've never lived in, often symbolizing different parts of the self. Rooms you never enter may represent parts of you still undiscovered. Locked doors may signal emotional walls. Basements may reveal the unconscious itself. Even nightmares carry purpose. They are not punishments, they're alerts. When something in waking life is too overwhelming to face directly, the subconscious may dramatize it in a nightmare, a shadow figure, a monster, a threat. But even these dark symbols hold insight. The fear is real, but it's also symbolic. And if you face it, even in the dream, something begins to shift. You may wonder if dreams are so meaningful. Why do we forget them? Why do we lose them upon waking? Part of the answer lies in biology. The brain changes gears between sleep and wakefulness. Memory systems don't function the same. But deeper still, the dream world is subtle. It requires quiet, slowness. If we wake up and immediately grab our phone or rush into routine, we lose the thread. But if we lie still, if we reflect, if we write them down, the dreams return, not all at once, but in fragments. And over time, those fragments reveal patterns. The more you pay attention, the louder the subconscious speaks. It's not about interpreting every dream perfectly. It's about honoring them, giving them space, asking what they might mean, and listening not with judgment but with curiosity, because your dreams are the raw material of your soul's inner life. They are the stories your conscious self hasn't told yet. Some people find healing in tracking their dreams over months. They begin to notice cycles, certain themes reappearing with each season, certain emotions surfacing during transitions. Some use dream symbols in art. Others use them in journaling. Some bring them to therapy. What matters is not how you use them, but that you notice them, that you recognize this is your subconscious speaking. And the subconscious isn't random. It's organized, deeply intelligent. It processes truth that your waking mind resists. It offers insight without logic. It remembers pain you've buried, but it also holds your creativity, your humor, your wild imagination, and every night it opens its door to you, asking if you'll come inside. So tonight, as you prepare to sleep, remember, your dreams are not just strange episodes. They are not just byproducts of rest. They are messages, mirrors, maps. They are a language only you can understand. And if you listen, they will guide you, not just through the night, but through the deeper terrain of your own becoming.